Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 16 of our wonderful journey here at Shot of Nostalgia, right down at the Turnbuckle Tavern. We are driving through 1998, pedal to the metal, no brakes needed, man. We just got through the highway to hells. We're going through everything, and we're about to break it down. No pun intended, but yes, goddamn, you're right. I'm good old Mike Belcaster, and as always, my host with the most.
Live from No Sales Studios is the ACEFIELD Tavern, ACEFIELD Retro. And as you said before, we're at episode 16 of season 3, which means we are episode 3-16. So how appropriate here, covering Stone Cold, the Rattlesnake. Man, he is trying to get his championship back or hold on to it. We have a lot of things to talk about here. And as I said last week, and I appreciate all the support last week that you guys, watching with me, hanging out with me. It's always tough when you're not here, Belcaster, and I'm so happy to have you back here on a beautiful Friday as we get ready for the weekend. But I appreciate everyone hanging out. But what we talked about last week was how interesting it is to see how compressed a lot of these moments are in real time. This episode we're about to go through now, it seems like there's like 3 or 4 moments that you'll see played over and over again on the Monday Night War documentaries just in these 3 episodes.
Yeah, no, it is absolutely insane, and we've been experiencing it this whole time on our journey here. Like everything happened. Like we get 4 or 5 moments in one Raw. No wonder why 1998 is touted as one of the best years in pro wrestling history. And I'm so happy to be covering it with you and all of you guys to be tuning in and enjoying it, man.
So we have a nice pay-per-view sandwich for you guys today. Of course, we're going to cover the September 21st Raw. Then we're going to get to WWF Breakdown in your house. And then we're going to go to the September 28th Raw. So a lot to break down. Vince McMahon still has a vendetta to get that title off of Stone Cold Steve Austin. We got a babyface Rock for a short period of time in the beginning of autumn of 1998. We got Mick Foley and The Rock kind of teaming up. This is prior to Rock and Sock connection. Undertaker and Kane running roughshod over the whole roster. And, of course, beautiful mid-card stuff. D'Lo Brown, Val Venus, X-Pac all crushing it. Triple H is the new IC champion battling through injury. And on the other side of WCW, as we'll talk about, Ric Flair is coming back, just like CM Punk's going to come back to AEW. Ric Flair, despite a $2 million lawsuit, is heading back to Atlanta, Georgia for WCW.
Goddamn, pal.
So much to break down. So like we said, we're going to be going through 3 episodes each week. If you guys are new here, go back and check out all the episodes in the archives. This is episode 16 of season 3, but we also have done 2 other seasons. As you can tell, we did ECW the season before here, 1995. We've also done our first season beautifully, WCW 1996, which really feels like it's the one that put us on the map, got us going. I got 1995. For those watching on video, we got Paul Heyman. I got that figure. I'm like getting on your level, dude. I just got the Bret Hart Ultimate in the wild. I got the
Be
Paul
careful
Heyman
if you open
found in the wild.
The phone actually breaks. I know we just did Fig Night, but damn, don't lose the phone.
Mine is just in his hand right there. I could grab it, but he's also so nice next to Bret Hart, taking in all the shot nostalgia. But we definitely have another good season ahead of you guys following this. We're going to be doing a short season. We may have some special guests talking about 7 episodes of Smoky Mountain Wrestling. So we're going to be doing we're going to be doing 2 months of content for Smoky Mountain Wrestling, all their results, all the news. And the last 2 episodes will be November and December, which will bring us to episode 70. And then we're going to have 30 episodes of our next season, which we're going to announce soon. We got to get the logos and the stuff going on, but we've dropped enough hints at this point that you guys should kind of understand what it's going to be. I mean, if you don't know, that means you haven't been listening.
You're goddamn right. And listen, I'm so excited for Smoky Mountain. I'm so excited to finish what we're doing here because this has just been such a huge year, and to the future and beyond. We have so much good shit to cover, and pro wrestling's been treating us well right here at Shot of Nostalgia. So I got no complaints, man.
So, I mean, if we have we have a Google Drive for all our notes for Shot of Nostalgia, so you go back in time, but we also have a Google Drive schedule. So we're scheduled all the way out until I believe it's like December or January of 2024, something like that. So a lot of good stuff on the horizon. Of course, you guys can go to the turnbuckletavern.com and get all your good stuff here. And we're just one show of many here. And make sure you guys are giving all the love, subscribing, leaving a review if you can, call the tavern, all that good stuff for the flagship. Yep. But with that being said, Belcaster, how about we get into happy hour, get our first sip of the drink, and talk about what Uncle Dave had to say in September of 1998.
Happy hour.
All right, we got happy hour. Cheers to you, Mike Belcaster, as we
Cheers
get into the newsletter. Uncle Dave Meltzer doing what he does best, and that's he's covering the news in wrestling. And where would we be without the newsletter here to get all of our anecdotal and context clues into what was going on? Because it builds such a beautiful picture of what was going on behind the scenes. And that's what makes it. I know people want to rip on Meltzer and think he has an agenda, but what this really does is it creates this world and you can immerse yourself back. It's not just about watching the episodes, it's about understanding what was happening in real time around it.
100%, man. That's one of my favorite part of the journey is going through these newsletters, finding out shit I've never, giant conglomerate shows going between everything in the world of pro wrestling, details about Ric Flair's beautiful $2 million lawsuit, and finding out that Val Venus is still so damn good. But yeah, absolutely. It's so awesome to be able to deep dive into the past like this. And Meltzer really helps a brother out, so I appreciate it.
All right, well, let's dive into the September 21st, 1998 newsletter. And we talked about before, Ric Flair is returning to WCW. There was a little bit of a wooing process on Vince McMahon's side. There was conversation that Ric Flair potentially could come in the fall around this time into the WWF to be a challenger for Stone Cold Steve Austin. And we talked about a few episodes ago what could have been with that. And Ric Flair was still on the older side as far as wrestlers go, but I think getting a Ric Flair versus Stone Cold program is kind of a missed opportunity. I think it would have been really awesome in 98.
I think it would have been the highest potential of epic matches that we did not know we needed, especially in 1998. I think everybody would have not batted an eye towards it, but I think it would have been huge, highly, highly looked after. I think Flair and Austin could have did a hell of a program together.
I think we got them wrestling in 2002, obviously not in a big program, and Flair was already sort of trying to get his confidence back because this is the start of a second half run from 98 until 01 when WCW goes under. Ric Flair's confidence is gone. I mean, he wrestles that last final Nitro in a shirt, and you heard all the stories. You don't have to even get into it, but Triple H kind of reinvigorates his career. And it's interesting because the newsletter we talked about 2 weeks ago, Triple H was highly critical about Ric Flair, and who knows, obviously differences aside, and maybe he was misquoted or misunderstood, but anyway, Ric Flair is returning to WCW September 14th Nitro in Greenville, South Carolina. And Meltzer said it exceeded everyone's imagination because there was nothing ever in wrestling to compare it with. If there was ever any one moment that firmly established who the greatest performer of modern time is, if not of all time, it was a huge initial pop, but when the deafening roar wouldn't stop. He may not be the greatest athlete who ever stepped in the ring, although he is a great athlete. He may not be the greatest drawing card, although he is a great drawing card. He may not have been the greatest in the greatest match of all time, although he probably is in a lot of great ones, and whoever numbers 2, 3, and 4 are in the list combined. And Meltzer continues, he may not be the all-time greatest interview, although he very well might be, but as motivated best, nobody can touch him. He continues to talk about how he compares all the history and just how this was a warm welcome. This had to feel great for Ric Flair, especially how things ended on the first half of this with the lawsuit, no showing the show, the house show where the Horsemen were supposed to reunite, and trying to go to Reed Flair's wrestling match. That's where this all started from, where Bischoff buried him to the talent and also to the audience. But anyway, they put their differences aside, just as we're seeing in wrestling.
Yeah,
with Bucks and Omega, and we're gonna get CM Punk back. This is very serendipitous, as we always talk about here on Shot Nostalgia.
No, that's the best part about it is it always does line up some way or another. But this is awesome. I'm glad Flair went back to WCW. I think what could have been with WWF would have been great, but him being WCW is much like Atlanta, Georgia, man. It is Flair country. You are feeling it. Charlotte, North Carolina, baby. We're right there with WCW and Ric Flair. So I'm happy he came back. Could you imagine if he signed with WWF and we didn't get that Sting Flair closing out Nitro match? It would have been insane. What would have happened?
So Meltzer continues and says that Ric Flair had a moment reserved for a few athletes in history, none of whom are wrestlers, not even Antonio Inoki or El Santo, the modern equivalent of the day when a dying Lou Gehrig came to Yankee Stadium and talked about being the luckiest man alive. And in a business that lives for the moment and forgets history, this was such an emotional scene that it may be remembered for longer than the requisite 1 week. But whatever happens next will be anticlimactic. It almost didn't happen, as there was a dispute that came up either Friday or early Saturday where Flair wasn't going to appear. They eventually got together in a room and figured it out. But man, this is if we're not covering WCW 1998, but as far as you want to talk about the biggest stars in wrestling and Mount Rushmores, and everyone has their favorites, Ric Flair's meaning and his significance to WCW was evident here, especially in Greenville, South Carolina, in this one night where people were, very excited to see him. And I'm sure Ric Flair had the tears streaming and all of that going on. It just was an emotional moment that shows how wrestling can transcend emotion and make people feel a certain type of way.
100%, man. And it's a typical Flair motion now. We're used to seeing the tears welling up and him going all over the place, but this was a big moment, man. And I'm glad Flair got to have it.
So we move on here, and we talked last week on our solo. We had the picture of you, Dax Cash, and some tequila on my side talking with us. But we talked last week about 2 of the episodes were preempted for the U.S. Open. So the taped nature of the Raws was a little bit different. Some of the main event looked different. It wasn't our usual show. I believe Stone Cold was not on both shows. But what they did was in that final show, which we covered, was the Ken Shamrock versus the Stone Cold match for the WWF title. They went all out because I think they just were happy to be back live. And Meltzer says this past week's was the biggest Monday night in history, was also among the best. WWF, anxious to get back in the game after 2 weeks off, presented a pay-per-view quality lineup headlined by the first ever Steve Austin versus Ken Shamrock match, multiple turns of Undertaker to a full-fledged heel, Rocky Maivia to babyface, and Mankind was pretty much already there to a full-fledged babyface. He continues, we had bare-breasted women, adultery, men beating up women, women beating up men, women ripping up the clothes of women, sledgehammers, vampires, along with the greatest soap opera in sports. So we said that before, obviously taped versus live. That's what set Nitro apart in the beginning. That's what helped them get off to a really big lead. And with wrestling being where it was, live sports, the U.S. Open, the Westminster Dog Show were taking precedent over the wrestling content. And also just like to tie it into Wednesday's news, if we believe it is, we're recording here on Tuesday with AEW potentially with this new TV deal. It just shows where wrestling is as far as they take precedent over other things. Wrestling is important to the networks. And a lot of times they build their network around it because it's so valuable to what they're trying to do.
Yeah, no, it's insane, man. And if rumors are true, I feel like we are in the 1998 of this era. We are in 2023. We got a lot of big shit happening pro wrestling wise, hotter than it's ever been since what we're covering right now. And yeah, man, it just goes hand in hand. It's crazy.
Meltzer also talks about the WCW side for that Monday, but he at this time, and I wonder if he still believes it's true, he said that the greatest pop in wrestling television was for Ric Flair on that Nitro. So go and check that out on that side. Not sure if that stands the test of time. We saw some great pops. I mean, the Bad Bunny pop, I'm not going to compare it to that, but
huge.
Man, that crowd was unreal.
Yeah.
I mean, even when Mick Foley won the title, when Austin's music hits, I don't know if that tops the pop there, or you can even go with Daniel Bryan pop. No, it's very interesting to see how his holds up as far as crowd reactions go. But for 1998, it was in a good spot.
Huge, yeah.
All right, so let's go to Univision holding a press conference on 9/15 to announce its fall season lineup and push Super Astros del Ring as starting in a few weeks. You and I talked last week potentially about them having a WWF wing, a Spanish-speaking channel. That's not on, but they were hell bent on wrestling, so they're going to be doing something different. Astros has fallen very similar to the relationship that with during the 1996 Royal Rumble season where these guys were popping in and out. But what were your thoughts on this with the Univision stuff? I mean, it could have been something big.
Oh, absolutely. It could have been huge. I think it's good for companies to branch out. And I think a Spanish-styled WWF show at the time would have been massive, man. Absolutely. That would have been their version of having Rey Mysterio in the 2000s. It would have been huge. It got over with everybody. I mean, Chicago is a very hot, Mexican, Spanish, Latin crowd. Every time they come here, it's Eddie Guerrero was hot. Rey Mysterio was hot. It's a big missing component, especially in 1998.
It was never more evident than the mid 2000s when they brought in Alberto Del Rio and they pushed the rocket on him because he was a good looking guy who was kind of, he was a Mexican native and he was a guy who spoke a good English and can cut a promo. They strapped the rocket to him because they're so desperate they recognize that wrestling is huge over there. And they know that people would, they want to get behind someone. And I think even to this day, they're looking for that. I mean, you can speak to the LWO going to Puerto Rico and just the different types they're trying to tap into different markets and have these larger than life superheroes. And that's why a guy like Andrade is a missed opportunity. I think he was a guy, you can even go down the line with other international stars. It's evident that they had the vision for this point, that pun intended with Univision, but they never went all in. They kind of had a dabbled idea where they would stick their toe in the water with having the Luchas and AAA CMLL come over to the Rumble and have this little, the division with the lightweights, but they never go full tilt towards it. It's almost like someone loses interest. Like, oh, this would be cool. But then 2 months later, they back out.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, but I think it would have been over as hell. And also, who had LWO being the biggest thing in WWE in
Yeah, good point.
2023? So who would have who knows what would have happened?
So going to Vader over here, and he's been, we've been saying it's the end of the Vader run here, and hopefully it ends soon for everybody's sake, because it's just kind of sad to see him working these matches and as a shell of himself. And I love Vader, I love his run through WCW, but
Yeah,
similar to the Road Warriors in '98, these are two of the toughest watches. And Vader right now is out of action. He missed the weekend of house shows with elevated blood pressure, which, according to his doctor, was from potassium and electrolyte imbalance caused by over dieting and overtraining and dropping so much weight so quickly. They talked just a little bit about how the pressure on the side to get Vader to lose weight. We talked about Mark Henry being pressured to lose weight.
yeah,
There is a huge emphasis on, I mean, it's health first and foremost for getting these guys to drop some weight, but it's also aesthetics on TV. Vince McMahon had a certain look that they wanted these guys to have. And Vader was forced to lose weight. And I think that's kind of the stuff we don't talk about with you put so much of your body through things that it could have an adverse reaction dropping so much weight so quickly.
yeah, 100%, man. You got to be careful with that shit.
So we're going to go to the house show business, and we talked about last week with all the wrestling just in a really good place. And that's, an understatement here. As far as the house show business, on September 11th in Calgary, it drew the biggest crowd in the history of pro wrestling in that city. I feel like we keep saying that every city we talk about, like, yeah, they broke a record. And for Calgary, which is a wrestling city, they did 14,017 for a house show, paying 351,785. Meltzer says the old record crowd was the 1987 show headlined by Hogan and King Kong Bundy, which drew 12,034. And the gate record was set last year of 229,598 at the Calgary Stampede pay-per-view show. Great pay-per-view, by the way. They continue down the list. They're going to the cities like Seattle, drawing a sellout for a house show, over 15,000. Anaheim, 10,000, which was a sellout as well. They go through the matches and stuff. House show, and we're seeing it now with WWE as they go to these markets and they're selling out house shows. And you can credit Cody Rhodes, you can credit the Bloodline, whatever you want to credit. The house shows are a good metric to see how hot the product is, and you can run certain markets, and the interest in a non-televised event is usually a good indicator how the business is doing. And this was the same case here. We have people selling out and they're clamoring to see any of the action. And some of the cards, we'll see Stone Cold on some of these cards and Undertaker and Mankind, but for some of the cities, it's just the mid-card guys. They're just desperate to see them.
Yeah, no, it's wild. Like, I remember going to a lot of house shows as a kid, just being happy. It was a different atmosphere. It was more intimate. You got more on a fun level because the performers got to let loose a little bit and not be so stiff and doing their TV shtick. So yeah, house shows are a blast, man. Glad to see they were doing so well at the time because I remember going to them with a very, very light heart, happy smile on my face, man. I loved house shows so much.
So we talked about the USA Network deal with Raw, and this is, again, serendipity with us talking about TV deals. And we talked last week about Fox being interested in getting WWE production, and they would wait another 25 years to get them. But rumors have Fox Network leaning toward doing something with WWF, but no done deal at this moment. And that was one sentence here that's very interesting. Fox, there's some rumors that Fox may be out after their deal with SmackDown is done. But It's just interesting. They've always had their interest, whatever the executive team at the top was at Fox. They've always seen valuable asset in WWE as far as live programming. And it started all the way in 98. And we talked last week, and I also talked on Wrestling Tonight on Monday with Chad. You guys can check that out, 7 p.m. live, Tuesday mornings on audio. We talked a lot about the AEW deal and just how wrestling in a spot where they are sought after. And to be someone that is being sought after as far as wrestling, it's unforeseen territory. And this is the turn of the tide here where you're not just having to settle for secondary advertisements. You're getting everybody bidding after you, and these millions of dollars that are being tossed around. It's a far cry from where they were, where, like we talked about ECW back when they couldn't get on pay-per-view. Wrestling is becoming this same thing with UFC. It's just an accepted family product of entertainment that is just in everybody's home. And I think it has something to say about us getting older. We're the older generation now as we start to have kids, and we're the ones raising a younger generation. But it's just interesting to see wrestling is just this natural thing where it becomes like it's on Fox. They're advertising on MLB games and then football games. Like, check out SmackDown. That is almost unheard of.
It's insane, man. It's thriving though, and that's the cool thing. Like even seeing it grow from where it is in '98, because in '98 it's hot as hell, hottest it's ever been, but it still doesn't pick up the record breaking like advertiser numbers and stuff like that. So to see where it has grown into. It's absolutely astonishing, and I'm so happy to be a part of the journey, part of the ride, man. Just like you, just like we all are. We're all happy to be fans. We love seeing what we're a fan of grow, especially in such a big atmosphere that it has. It's insane.
So we're going to move to the September 28th, 1998 newsletter, and we talked about Triple H working hurt. He suffered another injury on a house show in Sacramento during a match taped also from Sunday Night Heat. He also hurt it again. So a torn outer meniscus. So he's been working. We've seen that post. He got hurt during that ladder match, which we will know about. Triple H talks openly about how brutal that match was for him physically. But there's going to be a little bit of alarm here because Triple H is a rising star. And it's kind of interesting when you see a lot of these guys that get the rocket put on them, they get hurt. I mean, you can look at Stone Cold in 97 SummerSlam. That probably was the worst case scenario in their mind, but it wound up being a good thing for Stone Cold's career, not the broken neck, but being on TV, cutting promos and working on that and getting people, giving people the stunners, not having to wrestle. That was almost better for Stone Cold's character. Same thing's going to happen with Triple H here because we have Triple H. He may need to have surgery. They're saying potentially arthroscopic surgery in Birmingham, Alabama by the famous Dr. James Andrews later in the week. And he's going to be scheduled to be out of the ring for at least 3 more weeks. But he'll be on TV. I mean, that's the important part for DX and for all these characters. Triple H needs to be on TV, but unfortunately for him, that IC title reign is going to have to be cut short.
Yeah, no, it's a shame. Triple H has always been plagued with the injuries too. Like no matter what, it's a soft spot. It hits, but yeah, it's still good. I like the character that grows out of, like you said, with Stone Cold. Just going out there doing stunners, being the guy on TV. It's good to get Triple H out there and do that a little bit too.
So there's a little bit of a drama on the side with WWF and what else is new in 1998. Alex Marvez wrote an article for the Scripps Howard chain, which ran in newspapers around the U.S. and Canada. And this was about Jacqueline popping out of her top on Raw on the September 14th show, which went as follows. McMahon said in the article, syndicated by the Rocky Mountain News, and I quote, "We don't have a leg to stand on. It was a live show. We took the risk and got burned. We burned ourselves. If we did a match of this kind ever again, in all likelihood, it would be on a tape show." So I don't know. What do you think here? Do you think Vince wanted, like, obviously all publicity is good publicity, even if it's negative. And Vince they're an edgy product. They wouldn't, we've seen them, like, Miss Kitty was pulled off her top on a pay-per-view. Mae Young did the same thing. Sable, just at Fully Loaded, was wearing the handprint on her chest, but he's saying like, "Oh, we didn't mean to do it." Like, do you buy that at all?
No, not at all. Not especially coming out of Vince's mouth. Absolutely. And we've seen they didn't really revert back to the tape show ideology for for these kind of matches. They've been doing on pay-per-views ever since. Like it's just I think Vince was just trying to cover his ass there.
So he continued and said, "This was no doubt an accident. It was not like we were trying to pull one over on public. We recognize our responsibility to the fans." And he continues about what he could have done to make sure that there's safeguards in place. Just know that they wanted it to happen. Of course, like, we have characters like Val Venus, Godfather. We talked about the Fully Loaded bikini contest. This was par for the course of WWF 1998. And he's just trying to save face. And maybe it's an advertiser thing. It's no coincidence that the USA Network deal is coming up. They want to make sure that people can feel confident in their production. And, I don't know, but definitely came to me and I looked at this like, really, Vince? Like, this is something that you're trying to convince people it was an accident after all that you guys put on the screen?
100%.
So we also have Bruce Pritchard will be replacing Michael Cole on the Shotgun Saturday night shows. They did an angle in the UK version where Kevin Kelly fired Michael Cole from the show. Interesting to think about Bruce Pritchard doing commentary. I know, obviously, Brother Love, and we now know he's great behind the microphone doing something to wrestle and all that, but also love Kevin Kelly. Kevin Kelly, who still going strong, voice of New Japan, the English commentator on the New Japan shows. And it was interesting names popping up. And again, Shotgun Saturday Night, it was another idea they had that was really cool initially. And now it just becomes, like an AEW dark taping.
Yeah. It was such a bummer. Shotgun Saturday Night had so much potential. I loved it. I loved it so much. But once they started doing it before shows, pre-taping, it got like it was the shit.
So we had another one of those Dory Funk training camps, Mike Belcaster, and we got some names in there. Kurt Angle's back. We got Matt and Jeff Hardy, Tom Howard, Glenn Kolka, Jay Rizzo, a.k.a. Christian Cage, Andrew Martin, a.k.a. Tess, Matt Bloom, a.k.a. Albert, Brackus, Sean Stasiak, and Giant Silva at the camp. And they're all going to be working house shows. Meltzer continues. Angle is apparently the star of the camp and is being compared to Ken Shamrock as far as how quickly he picks everything up. But he's not going to debut that soon because plans are to give him a major push, even if they don't want to show him on TV until he's ready to carry that push.
Ooh.
Very true. Some of the names
Yeah.
here, too. I mean, before we get to Kurt Angle in a second, Andrew Martin, Matt Bloom, Jay Rizzo, Matt and Jeff Hardy, these guys are going to be contributing a big way very quickly. Even a guy like Albert, like he's on TV 99 as, you know, Tessin Albert, and these are huge players coming forward. And this camp is churning out stars.
Yeah, 100%. Like, insane. And Albert goes on and becomes the head trainer for WWE down the line. Like, so it's like insane to see the names on here. I mean, we're still watching Matt and Jeff Hardy on a weekly basis. We still got Christian out there. It's insane, man. Just the talent pool that they were just pushing through. It's absolutely mind-boggling.
So if you were setting up, and I understand like with the NXT Performance Center, they got like people that have dietitians and workout facilities and top of the line technology. Do you think, I mean, if you put them next to each other, and I'd be curious to do the exercise myself to look at what NXT's produced as far as star quality and what these Dory Funk training seminars have created and put them next to each other, what do you think is more valuable? Is it like this quick hot shot to the main roster and guys that are ready or go right to the main roster, and then if they're not good, they just cut them and they never appear? Or do you think the NXT fostering the skill set and getting them some reps behind them with the hard cam on NXT? To me, it feels like it's been more profitable on the other side of what they're doing here, because guys are either sinking or swimming and they don't have the chance to kind of just flounder in the middle for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, how quickly were we just talking about Sean Morley and then the turnover to him becoming Val Venus and being on TV and how good he's doing? That's it. You know, like I think you can't. Of course, the dietitians, you know, all the fancy bells and whistles they have over at the Performance Center are great, but nothing beats, you know, slapping a vest on somebody and saying, "Hey, we're throwing you in the deep end. It's whether you sink or you swim," and seeing it happen. I think that's why we had such a great crop of talent through our fanhood. You know, I think that's why we had the Kurt Angles and the Matt Hardys and everybody else that came through it. It's insane to see. I don't think Cameron Grimes is going to be on a Jeff Hardy level 10 years down the line. He could be, don't get me wrong, but I don't know. I think we have more star power coming out of these funk camps than ever. It's insane.
Yeah. And I think you're right. You're onto something here I think you have the opportunity to play it safe with the NXT Performance Center, because there's a place for these guys to live and be like, maybe he's not ready. Maybe he's not, maybe he's ready. Maybe he's not. And a guy like Kurt Angle, there was no spot for him to sit there. And eventually they develop OBW, which is going to be where, you know, the Batista, the John Cena, the Lesnar class, Shelton Benjamin eventually hone their skills. But there's something to be said about when you're ready to learn on the fly in the main roster. And it's easy to learn in front of a hot crowd where everybody cares about what you do. And it seemed like they could do no wrong. But a guy like Kurt Angle, it feels like if he came up in 2022, 2023, he would have to spend a lot of time on NXT, and maybe his career doesn't work out the same way, because part of Kurt Angle's career, it seems like he had an undeniable skill set. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But for a guy like him, his first year, he comes in, wins the IC title, the European title, eventually the WWF championship, all within 1 year. And some of these guys that are natural athletes probably don't have that opportunity because they're in NXT and they have to whether earn their stripes, make them impress somebody, push someone out to the side.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not saying I would replace the NXT Performance Center, but there's maybe a happy medium where these guys can learn a little bit more on the fly. A guy like Shinsuke Nakamura back in the day, there was no reason he should be on NXT, you know, like
100%. Yeah. Same thing with Braun Breaker. I mean,
yeah,
if that guy was on Raw every week, didn't have his NXT run, and he was as successful as he was on NXT, but on Raw, I think the overall main product would be a way, way healthier place.
But you know what that speaks to? That speaks to the lack of work rate in 98. There's not the same pressure that there is to put on a quality match where you can have a guy, and Kurt Angle was great. Val Venus wound up being really good. But a guy like Giant Silva is, I mean, his matches suck, but really people don't give a shit as far as work rate goes. They want your character to resonate. And anyone that is a serviceable worker, if you want to go through a scale of 1 to 10, if the guy is a 4.5 of 5, that's almost considered great in this era. So there's something to be said about the pressure on this end. Like Braun Breaker would probably be the best worker, on this roster as far as match quality goes, but he doesn't have the same charisma and same crowd reaction. So it's just 2
100%.
different times and 2 different places that 98 and 2023 have. But Dory Funk was doing something right. God damn it.
Hell yeah. God bless the Funkers.
So we have Jim Rome. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Jim Rome, but he's a sports radio personality. And this is kind of appropriate to talk about it as well because of the beef happening with Matt Cardona and Craig Carton in WFAN New York sports. We'll get into that in a second. But Jim Rome, who at the time is the leading sports radio talk show host in the country, was ripping on Dave Meltzer this past week when Meltzer was quoted on NPR saying, again, in the sporting news from the Frank Defford NPR story on wrestling, saying that football ratings on Monday will be down a little this year because of pro wrestling. By the way, Jim Rome, Meltzer wound up being right because wrestling was the track. And we talked about that, the Super Bowl rematch, although it was a preseason game, Raw beat it. So did Nitro combined. There was more people watching wrestling on the night than football, which is a Super Bowl rematch. So Meltzer was right. But yeah, Jim Rome, it just shows like even Dave Meltzer is getting rubbed in the national sports media where people are picking up what he's saying and taking it seriously.
Yeah, no, it's insane, man. Wrestling's reach in the 90s was absolutely bonkers, man.
Did you see this Matt Cardona, Craig Carton stuff going on?
I have no idea, so please enlighten me because I'm super excited to hear about it.
Obviously, Craig Carton is a New York sports personality. If you don't know who he is, he does the afternoon drive show. So he's there, talks New York sports. He used to be on Philly radio, but for the most part, he's been here and he's had some legal issues. He was arrested, spent some time in a penitentiary for doing for fraud and with using gambling money, all that stuff. So he did his time, was fired from WFAN, then got his job back. Anyway, he took aim for whatever reason at Matt Cardona because Evan Roberts, his partner, is a wrestling fan. And Evan Roberts was talking about Cardona, took a shot at him about him losing the IC title, how he got fired from WWE. So Craig Carton turned it around and was like, oh, well, he's my favorite wrestler now. Just like busting Evan Roberts' chops. And they went back and forth. And then Cardona took exception to what they were talking about and cut this huge promo on Craig Carton, challenged him to a fight. And this whole thing where like he wants to show up in the studio and challenge him to just a conversation, promise not to hit him. Wrestling is, they were calling Cardona poor too, because he couldn't hold the job in WWE and AEW. And then Cardona was like, dude, I'm more successful. I have more money. He's like, I spent more money in spilled alcohol at the Star Wars resort in Disney than you have in your bank account. So
he probably ain't wrong either.
It's so fucking
that's fantastic. Funny. But listen, man, I mean, that's it. But awesome that, I mean, Cardona's getting that mainstream reaction still. Right, even though so they're just putting their foot in their mouth as it is. He's already being mentioned on the show. You guys are talking about him. You're discrediting yourself right there. The guy is a fucking star. Get him out there. I'd love to see him hop up on there. And I don't want to fight. I'm not going to throw any fists. I just want to talk. I'm just going to talk.
Sometimes wrestling, and you can go all the way back to the Jerry Lawler, Andy Kaufman stuff, and even Regis Philbin and Stone Cold this year, 98, Jay Leno and Hogan. Yeah. When that crossover happens, it's good for everybody involved. And whether there's real heat or real drama going on, if Jim Rome was actually mad at Meltzer, or Leno was actually mad at Hogan, or Craig Carton and Matt Cardona actually hate each other, who knows? But it's good for both brands where you're bringing this eyes. And wrestling is at the forefront now. It speaks volumes about where wrestling is in 2023, not only financially, but optically for people to even talk about it. Matt Cardona is a guy who's not even associated with either company, but he is just as big a star as anyone that is on any other side. It's insane.
He's still mainstream, man. That's the best part of it.
So we have a story in the September 14th Media Week magazine running a story about the new direction of the USA Network with a photo of Triple H and Mario Lopez. The story said that USA was thinking of adding a Saturday night wrestling show to help boost ratings of the net. Really, this isn't what USA needs, especially what the WWF doesn't need at the time, more content. But how, it's insane. To even think about, 'cause that's what we're talking about now with AEW, where look at all the shows we have. You can go through the ratings here for WWF at this point. There's so much to be said about, you have Livewire, you have Superstars, you have Shotgun Saturday Night, you got Sunday Night Heat, you have Monday Night Raw, the pay-per-views, all of these shows, and people want to say like AEW is too much stuff, Rampage, get rid of it. Compare that to the hottest time in wrestling. They're just trying to create content for these networks, and that's what makes them valuable, whether 800,000 people are watching or 500,000 or close to 1 million. They're still top 10 in a lot of these networks as far as TV shows go.
No, absolutely. And I think this realm of a Saturday show is what initiated the birth of having SmackDown. SmackDown did not air on USA. It was on UPN, I believe, was the first place it aired. But super, super crazy to hear about somebody even mentioning a Saturday night show for wrestling in 1998. It's insane. I'm so excited for this week. I hope you are too. Like, this is going to crush wrestling. It's going to be hugest announcement right before their biggest pay-per-view of the year. Because I think Double or Nothing is a big pay-per-view for AEW. It's going to be crazy, man. I agree,
man. It's a good time to be a wrestling fan, whatever. And tribalism be damned. Just wrestling is in a good spot. And I said it on Wrestling Tonight. Everybody's eating. Just like in 1998, everybody's eating. WCW, WWF. Everyone's got food on their table. We have some background on Jay Rizzo. We know him as Christian Cage. Meltzer says he's from Orangeville, Ontario, the same city as longtime friend Adam Edge Copeland, and trained under Rod Hutchinson at the Sully's Gym in Toronto. He debuted 3 years ago. During the summer of 97, he worked the Maritimes in Canada in main events, teaming with Copeland against Rick Martel and Don Callis. So I just feel like I wanted to mention that here. And again, dude, one of the best heels in wrestling right now, bar none, among all these companies, Jay Rizzo, man. And also Edge having a great sunset run right now. He was involved in the World Heavyweight Championship tournament and great program with Finn Balor. It's awesome to see these names. And like, again, these guys prospered from the Canadian indie scene, and here they are still, and two of the best to ever do it. And we're just talking about their initial start in the WWF. It's amazing.
Yeah, and just the longevity of their careers. I mean, we're talking about Don Callis and Edge and Christian all in the same paragraph of the newsletter here in 98, and all three of them have been on TV this week. Like, it's fucking insane.
So the two final things here in the near WWF producing a line of bibs for babies with the likeness of Austin, Taker, Shawn Michaels, and Triple H. Like we said last week on the Home Shopping Network, anything you put wrestling on at this point is selling, specifically Austin 316. And I know I wanted to get your feedback on this, honestly, because I talked about it last week with everybody here on my lonesome. The Home Shopping Network after pay-per-views. Do you remember that? Like when they used to have the live sale of the shirts and the blankets and Beanie Babies and whatever, like that's what you would tune in post pay-per-view.
I'm pretty sure I've bought some wrestling merch off of Home Shopping Network as a kid. It was cool. I listen, that is a great way. That's just like plug in their shops now. That's like go to Shop WWE after the show, and you too could get a piece of history. And like that was what they were doing back in the day. Home Shopping Network was fantastic, and also fun wrestling tie-in. This week is Alex Marvez's 10th 10th anniversary working at Home Shopping Network as well as working with AEW. Absolutely insane.
Is that true?
Or Alex Abrahandes, not Alex Marvez.
I was gonna say
same shit though. Still remarkable.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
that's where Abrahantes is from. He works for HSN.
He works for HSN.
I did not know that.
The tie-ins here are fucking through the roof. We deep dive, man.
Yeah. So the final piece of news here in the newsletter of the Gangrel Edge angle that they're pursuing here. We don't know the name Brood yet, but we do know obviously the Brood is becoming, as we know, because we have a benefit of hindsight. Yeah. Meltzer says it's apparently taken from the Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt vampire characters in the movie where one sucked the other's one blood and they're linked for life. So, ooh, yeah. Have you seen the Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt vampire movie? I don't even know what movie's referencing.
I can't think of the name of it, but yeah, I have seen it. And kind of, I get it. I get the It was loosely based off of it.
Okay, well, I mean, they're fighting, so I mean, again, I compared it to Sheamus and Cesaro when they were like they had the best of 7 match, and then they became the bar, and they like earned mutual respect. But this is in vampire terms. We're just throwing blood on each other.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But same thing. I mean, tribalism's tribalism, right?
All right. Well, that's it for the newsletter. Let's get our fix and talk about these 3 episodes. I mean, we've got a pay-per-view to break down, so we are. Let's get our fix.
Get your fix.
Yeah.
Time to get our fix, Belcaster. WWF Monday Night Raw from September 21st, 1998, Sacramento, California, the Arco Arena, the home of the Sacramento Kings. Our current champs are Steve Austin, won it back on 6/29/98. Our IC champions, Triple H, won it back at SummerSlam 1998. Our tag champions, they also won it back at SummerSlam. It's the New Age Outlaws. Our European champions, D'Lo Brown, man, he is the advocate, and he's also this this great European champion, loving this run he's on. And of course, our light heavyweight champion, he doesn't defend the title. He doesn't even wear tights anymore. It's Taka Michinoku. He won it back on 12-7, 1997. Who cares about the light heavyweight division? Only you and I do, apparently.
No, absolutely. And it's gone. And it literally is gone after this point.
All right. So we have a little bit of a different flair on this Raw here. And our host to start the show, Shane McMahon and Jim Cornette. Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler are working away on the film Man on the Moon. This is the Andy Kaufman film that they're doing. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on Shane McMahon and Jim Cornette taking on the lead here as far as commentary? Definitely felt different. I was a fan. I liked it. It was a nice little switch up.
Yeah, no, it threw me off for the first couple minutes, but as more and more I got comfortable with it, I love the bantering back and forth between Jim, like calling out Vince to Shane being like, oh, no, it's cool. Shane playing the oblivious, like, no, I didn't see nothing. What are you talking about, dude? But I'll never not be happy to hear Jim Cornette in commentary. But him and Shane did a great job together. I thought it was really awesome. Nice step in a different direction. A nice change of pace for once.
Yeah, there was some criticism on Shane in the newsletter a few weeks back talking about, and I don't know if I put it in here, but it was a letter. Someone was talking about Shane's commentary saying he was trying so bad to be his dad. And just, I think at this show, he kind of came into his own and maybe this was an emergency thing or he didn't have time to get nervous about it. They just put him in front of the show and said, the mic's hot, get in front of the mic and talk. But he seemed a little bit more of the Shane that we were used to. And I think you can see he has a couple of the reps he's doing Sunday Night Heat. So you can tell he has a little bit of the reps behind him. And you're working with a pro next to you, Jim Cornette, like the riff between the both of them really worked. And I thought it was a good aesthetic. Yeah,
no, absolutely. I felt like we got a little bit of extra character from Shane here. Like this is more of the Shane O'Mac that we're running into down the road. So it was cool. I really dug it, man.
So we get off to a really hot start here. The Rock is making his way down to the ring to start the show. But we know, before the show even starts, McMahon's already in the ring. Mankind, Ken Shamrock already there. And Vince gets on the mic and he said, Steve Austin, he better think twice if you plan on laying a hand on me tonight. And then Taker and Kane appear at the entrance ramp as Vince's business partners. So Vince also reiterates to Steve Austin, he will not be leaving Breakdown in Your House as the champion. This is it, man. You're going to be losing the titles. This is my big plan here. Vince decides to give the fans of Sacramento a treat tonight, he says, by putting Austin in a tag match with a partner of his choosing against, of course, his business partners, Taker and Kane. So he said, the one caveat is your partner can't be Mankind, The Rock, or Ken Shamrock, so good luck finding somebody else. Vince said he would be proud of any of the three in the ring if they became WWF champion. No harm, no foul. Anyone but Stone Cold. We do know we got Rock being a full-blown face. We know that Mankind is a full-blown face. Ken Shamrock is kind of doing the tweener thing, but he is a face by, I guess, definition of where he's on the roster. The camera looks over at Taker. He seems a little bit pissed. Like, I thought you and I were doing business, and then it was either going to be me or Kane winning the title, and you're okay with either one of those guys. And you can see, obviously, Taker is he's a full-fledged heel at this point. We know that. But you can see a little bit of that light go off. Like, maybe it's not worth it to be involved in this anymore. Maybe I should go back and go on my own. But we'll see what happens. Vince is in the ring pumping up the guys as they all are close to him. Vince then puts him in a triple threat match to win a shot at the WWF title for Breakdown next week on Raw. Vince said, I'm going to be the guest ring announcer for the match. And McMahon says, whoever wins the triple threat match won't be facing Stone Cold. So
crazy.
This is the go-home show for Breakdown. They want to make sure they emphasize this triple threat match between Austin, Taker, and Kane. And also, he's trying to play everybody against each other. So the winner of this triple threat match will go on and face the winner of the other triple threat match, whoever's the champion. And everyone's incentivized. And the end game for Vince, it's clear. His incentive is get the goddamn title off of Stone Cold.
Yeah, love it. Absolutely love it. I love the choice of talent here going on. Love how rich the story, like Vince is just literally screwing everybody over at any waking moment possible. He's really doubling down on, Austin, you're not leaving the show with the belt. But I love his sincerity when he's talking to Foley and The Rock. Like, you could do this. I promise you. No, it's okay, pal. Like, I got you. Don't worry about it, kid. But I love the antics between all Shamrock, Rock, Mick Foley. If you guys underestimated how big Ken Shamrock was, this is a really opening eye picture to how important he was to the overall storytelling mechanism here. Fucking loved it, man.
We talked last week. One of my favorite matches we've seen, WWF 1998, was the title match between Shamrock and Austin. And I was saying last week, and I know you watched, even though you weren't on here on the show with me, the fact that Austin had to cheat, it just put over the fact that Shamrock is a threat to the title, because how often you see Austin rake the eyes and low blow anybody. It just doesn't happen. So it just
Yeah.
really emphasized, like, missed opportunity too. I said last week, they were hotshotting the title, and this was the perfect opportunity. You could have put the title, instead of putting it on Taker and Kane, you could have found a way to put it on Shamrock involved in here. And even for a one-off few weeks, I think Ken Shamrock being champion would have been legitimate. I think he was a guy who was on the same level as every single guy in one of those rings. I think it just fell off the tracks a little bit, maybe because guys jumped ahead of him with The Rock becoming The Rock. But I don't know. It will be off the tracks at this time next year. He's already a guy who's a mid-carder, but the momentum was...
Yeah, no, and that's a very, very, very good point. But I mean, look at all the talent they had. He was unfortunately one of the best talents to get lost in the shuffle, right? Like,
Yeah.
I totally could have seen him running with the belt for at least, a month. Give it to him.
Yeah.
Small little title run. Who is it going to hurt? Not the fans. Would have been great.
Yeah, I mean, I put Ken Shamrock up there with the missed opportunities for guys that never hold the title. I mean, Roddy Piper, Mr. Perfect, Owen Hart are three other guys that come to mind, but Ken Shamrock's right up there for guys that never hold the WWF championship. And you could say, I mean, Roddy Piper said in his book, he never felt like he needed a world championship, and almost was, I think other companies and WCW wanted to put the title on him, but he just never wanted it. I'm sure, maybe there's conversations about Ken Shamrock, but I'm sure he would have benefited from being champion, and maybe would have changed his trajectory. Maybe he would have stayed within wrestling for much longer. I don't know.
Yeah. Absolutely. I wish he would have. Who knows what would have happened.
One thing I want to say, though, about this opening segment, which was really awesome, it really speaks to the buy-in that Vince has with his character because of the consistency. A lot of times wrestling shows or even independent wrestling shows, you're a heel, so you side with the heels. What was so good with the consistency of Vince's character is his character's main driving force is, I hate Stone Cold Steve Austin. So anyone that can beat Stone Cold, face, heel, man, woman, doesn't matter. I want him to beat Stone Cold, to beat Stone Cold. I want the title off of him. So it just was awesome to see, like, Vince. It just shows how vindictive he can be, but also how true to the character is. He doesn't just side with heels. He sides with anyone that can end Stone Cold's reign.
100%. I absolutely loved it, man.
So we get to our first match here. I'll let you cover it. It's Billy Gunn taking on Jeff Jarrett. He, of course, has Southern Justice in his corner, but Road Dogg and X-Pac even the odds here. A lot of different personalities, but lead us through Billy Gunn, another guy, and Jeff Jarrett, still active on the AEW roster.
Insane, man. Billy Gunn looking like $1 million here. Loving it. Love the entrances. Not much of a match. Very long for an opening match for Raw, too. Like, it's 7 minutes and 30 seconds. I was very, very surprised. But we got Billy Gunn up with the win. I'm rocking and rolling. I'm good with that. It's good. Cool, man. It was nothing spectacular. You're kind of seeing Billy Gunn grow into this position. I love Jeff Jarrett's new demeanor here. A little more evil. Don't piss me off. Gotta love it. Shane and Cornette are doing great on commentary here. But yeah, like I said, nothing spectacular, but a really good opening match. I could watch Billy Gunn work all day. And especially with Jeff Jarrett, and I'm glad they're still in the ring in 2023 because they're both fucking great, man.
Yeah, the ending saw a reverse neck breaker for a 3 count. No famouser. I think he was doing that move as a transition move, and then eventually becomes his finisher. But reverse neck breaker. We're gonna see. They put a lot of stock in Billy Gunn next year. He'll win King of the Ring in '99. Have that feud with The Rock. I just don't see it as a singles guy. I don't know. I love what they did with him and Road Dogg. I love the Mr. Ass stuff. Even his run as the hardcore champion in '99 was good. I don't know. I don't know if I think moving away from Mr. Ass was kind of what ruined it for me when they made him the one Billy Gunn, and when him as a heel, like he was hotter than ever here. And also '99 when he comes out WrestleMania 15, he gets one of the biggest pops in Philly. But I don't know. I just don't know if he was ready for a singles run or if he was more of a tag guy.
I think for Billy, as crazy as it sounds, I think he lacked the charisma to be a singles guy. His in-ring work was phenomenal, but I just don't see the character aspect of Mr. Right now, he's killing it, right? But like back in '98, I didn't see Mr. Ass being the guy, and nor would I have. He was the tag team guy. It was the New Age Outlaws that carried the division, especially during these dark times here. So, but yeah, a good singles match, just didn't have the bang for the buck, but it was still a good opener. Like I said, I enjoyed it. It was nothing spectacular though.
Yeah. I mean, Billy Gunn wins the IC title down the line, but who would have thought that Road Dogg would win the IC title before Billy Gunn? I mean,
yeah,
interesting.
insane.
And these guys, again, WrestleMania 15 is not that far away from this point where Billy Gunn goes in as hardcore champion as the opening match. Road Dogg is the IC champion in a match with Val Venus, and Val Venus and Ken Shamrock are also in that match as well. So, yeah, it's interesting to see what goes on here. And I don't know. I look at some of these gimmicks similar to Godfather, Billy Gunn, Val Venus. It has a glass ceiling. You can't break through it because of the fact that can you see a guy named Mr. S main eventing WrestleMania? Maybe you 100%. Could in 1998, but
no,
but like you can't. Like you see it on the poster, a guy named Mr. S just not going to be your guy. And I think that's where they got stuck, where they kept trying to shift who he was. But Mr. S is what got him over. So it's just like maybe you just should be okay that he is a top mid-carder that gets a really good reaction.
100%. I mean, look where it got him. I mean, he's still one of the top mid-carders in wrestling history, and he's killing it.
So backstage, we have Michael Cole with Vince McMahon, and Vince is talking about Vince Russo. Well, he's talking with Vince Russo and Ed Ferrara. So we get a little Vince Russo sighting on our screen. They were asking who possibly would volunteer to be Steve Austin's partner tonight against Taker and Kane. Vince looks at Michael Cole with just an absolute evil look. He said, Vince, I don't care who the volunteer is. Our volunteer will be. Austin will be in the ring tonight with Undertaker and Kane. So, AKA, he's in bad shape. So, seeing Vince Russo and Ed Ferrara on our screen here was interesting. I mean, Vince Russo becomes an on-screen character in WCW. Not really that in WWF, but shows how important he was backstage as far as writing. And he climbed the ladder just a few months. I mean, he was just used to be the fucking editor of WWF Magazine. Here he is on screen.
Rocking and rolling. We got the poison, bro.
So we come back and we get glass breaking, and here comes Stone Cold with the swagger to the ring. He gets on the mic and he talks about Vince stacking the odds against him, and he talks about Undertaker's allegiance or business deal with Vince McMahon, but I'm taking it personally. He said even with match stipulations where Taker and Kane can't pin one another to win the match, they're bullshit. But as for tonight, though, Austin, he doesn't really need or care for a mystery partner. He doesn't care if anyone shows up or not. He's going to go down there and beat people up, and he wraps the promo telling us to expect Austin 316 a breakdown, expect Austin 666. So that never caught fire, but it did catch me. We thought it was going to be another shirt, but obviously referencing Taker and Kane, the demonic side of it. But good promo from Stone Cold, a lot of fire from him, and the reaction is so genuine. Every time he's in our ring, it feels important.
100%, man.
We see Taker and Kane showing up to the arena in street clothes. Very interesting to see Kane in street clothes with a mask. Always, and Taker. Anytime you see him in street clothes, it becomes like, oh, he eventually became that for Biker Taker. That was who he became. So,
jarring, weird. Yeah, it takes you out of the reality of it though, because you're like, oh, well, fuck these guys.
Our next match here is a tag match, and it winds up being no match at all because the Oddities got in the ring and Silly String gets shot over the place. It's the Oddities with Luna in their corner taking on Mosh and Thrash for the Headbangers. It's all fun and games until the Headbangers come out with aerosol spray can and sprays the Oddities in the eyes. Golga gets his Cartman doll ripped up, and all the stuffing is everywhere. And the Headbangers turning heel here, and the people of Sacramento in the crowd absolutely couldn't care less. No reaction, no match because they get sprayed in the eyes and they're not fit to compete. I talked about, and I posted on my story or my Instagram earlier at ACEFIELD Retro, by the way, if you want to follow me on Instagram. The Oddities have John Tenta, and he is formerly Earthquake as Golga.
Yeah.
We talked in the newsletter, potentially John Tenta being brought in as a big bad to take on Stone Cold and what could have been. Fun fact for you, in 1990, John Tenta was 27 when he was feuding with Hulk Hogan. Is that mind-boggling to you?
That is absolutely insane. It's crazy.
Which means
that's AEW numbers for age-wise.
He's 35 here, where he is way over the hill, can't really move. And I understand he's a heavier guy, but 35, I remember watching him feeling like he's just a guy who can't work. And he's 35 years old. That's the prime of careers now.
That's jarring. I'm 35. That fucks me up hard. I'm going to go hug my Cartman stuff. He was super extra hard tonight. Shit.
It's crazy to me, but I'm a big Earthquake fan. I think he could have had a place on this card. And I'm not sure if you put him in the big singlet and have him do the Earthquake gimmick, but I don't know, give him an attitude and an edge. I think whatever they could have done would have been better than Golga because he's a legend. I mean, I think his run with Hogan in 1990, of course you can't do the same thing here, but to feed him to Austin wouldn't have been so bad. I think they could have done something good with them.
They totally could have, but that is the numbers on that.
It's crazy, right? 27 in 1990s and saying the dude looks like he's 50.
Yeah. And it's just that is mind boggling. I feel very good about myself now.
Yeah. And also too, there's the promo photo of 1990. The one I posted is Dino Bravo and Jimmy Hart in the photo as well. And I think Dino Bravo was like 30, 33 or something in it. And he
It's
just
insane.
It's great. Like to look at 35 years old is just, man.
Like
for
you saying Dino Bravo, that makes me think like, oh, he's like 60, you know.
Crazy.
It's fucking wild.
So before we move to the next match, we have a Michael Cole in the back with Undertaker and Kane. Taker just staring straight through the microphone and staring at Michael Cole, saying Stone Cold better watch his back. And he guarantees one of them, meaning Taker or Kane, will walk out with the WWF title from Austin on Sunday. Austin's he thinks that Austin needs to get his final arrangements in order if he shows up to the ring by himself. Making a funeral pun, but very heated feud, and they've really stretched this out with Taker and Austin. Yeah. It still feels fresh, despite it being really over the same thing as for the championship. But Taker's character is shifting dramatically over the course of the last few months, and I'm loving heel Taker. I think he has a really cool edge to him, and we don't get to see it enough because so much of Taker is a face for the, he went on that Legends run at the end, but guys, some heel chops. I think he's great as a bad guy.
I loved heel Taker. I think it was one of the best parts. I mean, even going all the way through the ministry and shit, like heel Takers where he was drawing and making money for that company, and I loved it.
Yeah, we're gonna see Ministry Taker coming up soon. The Ministry of Darkness can't be far from here when he's close. He's gonna have the Satan chin piece. He's gonna have the cutout. Well, that's a great figure they have too, where he has the Lucifer ponytail. He was he was something else during this run. He was definitely doing something creatively, which was awesome.
Yeah, no, it felt very like having Shane on commentary, Vince in the ring, Taker there. Like it got, you get all the feels back up. You're like, oh man, I'm ready for the ministry. Let's do it.
So believe it or not, we have a match for the vacant WWF Women's Championship. No build up, no nothing. The belt is just back. We're having a title match between the only two women on the roster that are wrestling. Of course, Luna's there. She's become a valet for the oddities, but Jacqueline and Sable are going to be wrestling over the title. And there's no build to this. Again, it wasn't mentioned on any show prior. The belt is just there. Match is pretty quick here. And Jacqueline gets the 3 count for the WWF Women's title. It's 2 minutes and 51 seconds. We get the Bobby Heenan finish, which was stolen from other heel managers. And Sable goes for the suplex. Jacqueline goes back inside the ring. Mark Marrow trips him up, holds her feet down. The classic finish there. Match sucked. 2 minutes and 51 seconds. What is the point of a women's championship if there's no women's division? Like what? Why?
Yeah. No, I guess trying to establish that there is a women's division and trying to make it like legitimizing this feud between Sable and Jacqueline. I guess that's the finish line point, right? It did bring back the women's title.
I guess beautiful title too, gotta say.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But yeah, too much fuckery going on in the feud and not enough seriousness about the title. So who cares? You know what I mean? Like you're just like, oh, all right, and then this happens and you're still like there's no like, yeah, this is cool. I like this. You're just like, oh, it's just another fucking segment.
This is the first time that the women's title has been on the roster since it was tossed in the garbage on Nitro, right? This is the first time since Alundra Blaze did that.
Wild, right? Like, yeah, it's just absolutely mind blowing. But that's what I said. The good that came out of it, we got the women's title back, and we got a thought of the women's division, but this did nothing for it.
Yeah, and it'll be a long time before we have meaningful women's programming. And to think, and also this is, you want to look optimistic kind of point of view here, where the wrestling business went and where this title, the lineage, it's a different lineage and stuff, is the same title that winds up main eventing WrestleMania with Becky Lynch and all that went on WrestleMania 35, right? In New Jersey with Ronda Rousey and Charlotte involved. And we had that great match this year with Charlotte and Rhea Ripley. By all intents and purposes, that was a main event level match. This 100%. Is Sable's first pinfall loss on TV, by the way. So wow. Interesting booking decision. And of course, Sable will win the title soon, but to put the title on Jacqueline, it feels like a predetermined thing where Sable should just be your champion. I wonder what the idea was putting on Jacqueline.
I don't know. I listen. I always love Jacqueline. I think she's a great worker. I think she really carries herself well. She's fun to watch, like in the ring. Loved her during her TNA days. Loved her. She's just always been a good presence. But I mean, yeah, you got the hottest babyface female in Sable, and you're not putting the title on her. It's just it's just a dumb decision, right?
And it's a 2 minute and 51-second match where it's just, why are we? Yeah, what's the point? I mean, at least have some build, maybe a little bit of a tournament, put some pomp and circumstance with the title, put it on a table with a tablecloth, and put shine some lights on it, do something. I mean,
Mark Merrill
randomly for the women's title. Like,
yeah.
If you don't care, why should we care? That's the other thing. Like, they don't
100%.
care about this, so it's quite evident that nobody cares. So it's just another title that means nothing. And I don't know, gets me a little bit hot because what could have been. There's a lot of lineage in the women's championship. Even at this point, go all the way back, to the early days of WWF. There's a lot of long lineage of the women's championship, and they, throughout this year through. I mean, when does it stop? Until probably 2003 with Lita and Trish had that match on Raw, and maybe that was the one-off, but it took quite some time before we get to a point where women's wrestling was looked at with some respect.
100%. Yeah, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
We go to Warzone here. Shane McMahon and Jim Cornette lead us in, and we have, which we thought would have been the main event, was that match that Steve Austin would be taking on Kane and Taker and his mystery opponent. We have Vince McMahon backstage yelling at Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe for screwing up and allowing a member of DX to team up with Austin. So we do know it's Billy Gunn. Austin looks confused at Billy Gunn's appearance, and we get this match breaking down, and there's some good spots here. Shows the evidence that they want Billy Gunn to be a top guy working with these other three. He's a guy that they trust. Crowd does react to Billy Gunn. They are excited to see him teaming with Austin. They are an odd couple, no doubt about it. It's interesting to see both of them. There's something very attitude era about the both of them teaming together, but we have a lot of shenanigans at the end. We have Kane and Taker get the win as they go in there. Billy Gunn, of course, takes the pin. Why not? The champion's not being pinned. 8 minutes and 37 seconds after a choke slam, Jim Cornette talks that neither Taker nor Gunn were the legal men in the ring, which is true. If you watch this, it breaks down. The ref loses control, which speaks to the chaos in the ring. But if you're going to do a tag match, first of all, there's two things. Make sure the legal men are in the ring, and also make sure that someone's holding the goddamn tag rope. It kills me watching it. I'm sure it was killing Jim Cornette, who was a traditionalist.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure when he points that out, that's just Jim Cornette being Jim Cornette. I'm sure nobody was in his ear saying, like, don't forget to mention that they weren't the legal man. He was probably pissed about that, so that's why it came up. But yeah, it wasn't a bad match by any means. I love the ending spot where Austin goes to fucking stun Taker, and Taker pushes him in the Kane, and he's like, fuck it, and he stuns Kane, and it was really good. And I popped really hard for seeing Billy Gunn out there. I thought that was a cool odd couple tag team thing. And it didn't feel forced. Like when the DX music hit and like everybody lost their shit. If it was something different, unique, that would be like if House of Black and the Elite were working together. It would be like, fuck yeah, like let's throw Kenny Omega and Malachi in a fucking tag match together. It'd be huge, So I dug it. I thought it was really fun.
Yeah, it was interesting to see the placement on the card, and I think it's that they have something else in mind for later tonight, as we'll see. But they start Warzone, and maybe it was a comparison to the ratings war. They want to make sure they have people at the 10 o'clock hour, that they wanted people tuning in with them. And that's when Austin's on the TV, they draw ratings. So we're leading to the next match here. We have Southern Justice taking on the DOA. This match ends in a no contest. We don't have to get into this. This is a match that, again, they lead into Warzone. Great transition with great stars. This is the complete opposite, man. There's nothing going on here. 3 minutes of just whatever. Like, this match is a no contest. Just we had Jarrett getting involved. He hits Paul Ellering, and
it's the best part of the match.
Not even worth going into. I would say skip it. I'm gonna be honest with you. There's no progression for anything, and whatever. Kudos to these guys for making a career of wrestling and all that stuff. But this is horrible. I'm sorry. It has no place on this card.
Well, my love for DOA, obviously. Southern Justice is right up there. They're not doing me any fucking favors by throwing these guys together. Like, this is the biggest clusterfuck of, like, you thought the women's match was bad. No, watch the women's match watch the women's match twice instead of this. This is but again, best part of the match was Jeff Jarrett coming down with the guitar, getting the hit in. Paul Ellering taking the hit. He sold the shit out of it. It was good, but it was pointless shit. Pointless.
What makes it worse is that there's not even a finish. Like, if you're going to do this match, like, all right, you got to have a let me up match where people can go get snacks, go to the bathroom. This is a goddamn finish. Like, what are we doing? Who are you protecting on either side? Like, why can't Southern Justice or Disciples of Apocalypse? Like, who cares? One of the guys take a pin. 8-Ball and Skull can't take a pin? What are you doing?
It's baffling, man. But yeah, I don't know. It could have not been on the card. This is house show shit. Like, I don't want to see that.
So you tell me again. I'm stuck on it. Like, Dennis Knight, Mark Canterbury, 8-Ball or Skull. No one can rock paper scissors. Who's taking the pin tonight, boys? Somebody take a pin. No contest. We gotta protect everybody. Hard,
take the fucking pin, damn it! What are you doing? What do you think? I love it.
It's crazy. Like,
you're 100% right, though.
Because now this is a trickle effect to the other matches where if you use a no contest as a safeguard to be like, I don't want anybody to pin, it's spam because of shit like this. Again, just have it have a finish.
Yeah.
Like,
no,
I'm sorry. It's just overbooked.
Totally unnecessary.
All right, take a breather now. All right, Michael Cole's in the back. He is with Vince McMahon, and Vince is surprised Billy Gunn showed up to be Stone Cold's partner. And Vince is like, I'm never surprised, but he's disappointed in Billy Gunn. Now Billy Gunn has the crosshairs of the sniper rifle on him, and he makes sure to let everybody know Kane and Taker are pissed, and Vince feels like he's responsible for what they do later tonight, whether it's with Billy Gunn or anybody else. So, kudos for Billy Gunn. It's a big step for him to, in kayfabe, step up in Austin's time of need. I'm sure Austin, as the character, doesn't give a shit. Like, you could have showed up, you didn't show up, it doesn't matter. I would have been out there. But it goes a long way to show what they thought of Billy Gunn.
Absolutely. Like you said, it was a good surprise. I really enjoyed it. I thought their chemistry was pretty decent together. And I like when shit like that happens and it matches up right. It's, don't be throwing everybody together, but when it makes sense, the Rebels with, DX versus with Stone Cold, who's the Rebel, like it works. And they were there to piss off Vince. Oh, fuck yeah. Sign me up.
So we have the next match here. Well, first, before we go to the match, we have a Steve Regal segment I have to mention.
My favorite fucking thing.
Take the lead. Tell us what goes on here. I mean, great theme song, but awesome segment here.
Nothing more manlier than the real man's man, Steven Regal, shaving in the fucking woods with a straight razor. And they're just like, that's what men do. It reminds me of like like the Budweiser commercials or something. Like, he's the man, yeah, and he's shaving because that's what men do, shave with a straight razor. What a out of character thing for William Regal, and I fucking loved it. I ate this up then, and I'm eating it up even more now because I know so much about William Regal. Like, it's the best. This must have been the best rib ever. Like, I fucking love this shit. And he was all for it.
Do we have a real man's man figure with the construction hat and shit? Or
no, but goddamn it,
they gotta make an elite. Let's do it, guys.
How have they not? Like, and he's back.
Stacy Keibler, WCW elite. We can't get a real man's man elite for Steve Regal.
Damn right. With the straight razor. I want a separate head with the fucking shaving cream.
He's a man.
Yeah, it's such a good theme song. But William Regal, the credit that guy fucking deserves, and we send him all the flowers, but he deserves more. This is so fucking comedy gold.
So good.
Yeah, I love it.
And his WWF career takes off from here. I mean, he's a former IC champion, European champion, has a good feud with Jericho 2 years from this, 3 years from this point. He's a tag champion, holds the titles with Lance Storm. He becomes the commissioner. Like, he's long here in WWF, and he has a good run.
Yeah, I love it. Absolutely.
King of the Ring. King of the Ring.
Yeah. He brought class to that shit. I'm all fucking about it.
So we go to the next match here. It's a boot camp match. Al Snow taking on Sergeant Slaughter. Sergeant Slaughter gets on the mic and he lets Snow ask the crowd all his questions about Head before nailing with the Army helmet. They go back and forth. So Al Snow clearly gets the win here. They're giving him a mini push. And correct me if I'm wrong, this might be the second match that Al Snow's had. He's usually running in doing segments, or it might be the first. I can't remember if it's the first or second.
Yeah, not sure if it's the first or second, but this was fun. This was classic stuff. And I was pumped to see Slaughter get back in the ring. I mean, he looking a little bent out of shape there, but I mean,
yeah, he's 27 too here, by the way, guys.
Yeah, he is 14 years old. But it's insane, and it was good. And it was also like we got a good mix of shit in this. We got Pat Patterson coming out. We had Gerald Briscoe. Like, I was pumped for it, man. Two Cold Scorpios out there. Like, fuck yeah! Like, this was silly, fun. I enjoyed it, man, and it was cool to see Sergeant Slaughter of all people wrestling Al Snow. Who'd have thought who thought that was in our memory bank somewhere?
Yeah. Al Snow gets the win, hitting Slaughter with head, and like you said, after the bell is where the fun starts. We get the brawl after with the guys out there. Did a good job protecting the limitations of Sergeant Slaughter, past where he should be in his career, and he was protected here where it felt fun. Sergeant Slaughter didn't look like he didn't belong there, and it was a fun match, like you said.
And he was only 35 years old.
and Al Snow's moonsault with the chair, one of the best ever. I know that Sabu does that as well, but Al Snow with chair moonsault, very, very well done.
Yeah, Al Snow was fucking fantastic, man. Oh, somebody who does not get enough flowers. I mean, as a trainer, as a fucking in-ring professional, as a character. Yeah. I love Al Snow, man. So damn good.
Yeah, great character, and he's developing right here. And I think this is the best memories we have of Al Snow. But you go back to ECW as well. He has a great character and an understanding of what makes the crowd react. And the crowd reacts pretty strong to him here.
They love him. They absolutely love him.
We have Michael Cole in the back again. He's a busy dude. He's checking in with The Rock backstage. And the dynamic between The Rock and Michael Cole is interesting as well. Rock is clearly a babyface here, so he's not fucking with Michael Cole as we did. I mean, there's some great memories. I'm sure you guys have been watching wrestling for a long time. You've seen the interviews, but like throwing the shirt on top of him and fucking with Michael Cole to the best degree. But Rock draws his attention to Vince McMahon. He said no one can tell him what to do, and he knows one day I'll be the best WWF champion and let Mankind and Ken Shamrock. They're not in my league. The Rock says I plan on taking his big right hand, lifting the people's eyebrow and laying smack down on both of them. If you smell what I'm cooking, and he says that I'm the people's champion. We do know it's interesting to see if you watch this promo and then also understand that he goes to WWF 1998 Survivor Series. They're dropping hints here. Although he says I wouldn't take Vince up on his offer on what's going on here, you could use this and string it along as hinting. Like there's conversations happening in the background that this is the start of Vince recognizing and The Rock. There's a relationship that's beneficial for the both of them.
No, I love it. And this is like your classic Rock promo. It's so good. And I like you said, I love this isn't full blown fucking with Michael Cole, but the dynamic between the two is just perfect.
So we have another quick match here with two great guys. Val Venus taking on Owen Hart, 2 minutes and 33 seconds. I'll let you just tell us what happened here, but so short for two guys, and they're trying to fit a lot in because the end of Raw, there's a lot in the second half, but 2 minutes 33 seconds. Tell us what happened.
Listen, it was not much. We get a lot of Dustin Reynolds hanging out there, Val Venus throwing shade. Obviously, the Owen Hart thing goes quick, but Val Venus goes, I want to turn your attention to the screen. And it shows him in bed with Terry, and he's looking for her lost cat, which is so sweet of him. I think it was really genuine, nice sweet of Val Venus. Right in line with the Cardona stuff, right? Like Val was just trying to help find the cat. Dustin's just a mess, but it was fun. It was good.
Something about Terry.
Something about Terry. Let me go see if I can find that little kitty cat. But fun mannerisms, good stuff. The match, not important. The storytelling, crisp and great. I loved it.
Were you a Terry Reynolds fan growing up? Are you
love Terry Reynolds fan.
Are you a Marlena guy? Terry Reynolds, because they both.
I'm a Terry Reynolds guy.
Reynolds, peak Terry Reynolds might have been with Perry Saturn. It's underrated era of Terry Reynolds.
100%. Yes. No, that is
Perry Saturn,
love right
Terry
there.
Reynolds era. Great Terry Reynolds era.
100%, man, and that's why I'm a Terry Reynolds fan and not Marlena fan.
Oh man.
But this is great though. Loved it. Yeah.
Dustin's crying on commentary, which is a little bit sad to see. But Val, he's a face somehow, but he's cheating and grabbing everybody's wives and girlfriends, and he's the good guy. It just shows where the Attitude Era was.
Yeah.
So our next match here, it's for the European Championship, and it's two guys that are linked up. You want to talk about all-time opponents between the two of them. When I think of the European Championship, I think of this matchup. It's D'Lo Brown and X-Pac.
Yes.
And this match was great, man. This was a lot of fun. Back and forth. The young talent of D'Lo Brown was super evident here. And X-Pac, he has a lot of miles on the body as far as at this point. I mean, we've seen a lot of him throughout early WWF during Raw and against Razor Ramon to WCW. But post-neck surgery, the dude hasn't lost a step. He's in here just going back and forth. This is one of my favorite eras of this mid-card feud. And this makes me love the European Championship and what they were doing. Great match. We eventually see X-Pac hit the X Factor to D'Lo Brown for the win.
Beautiful.
Quick one, 5 minutes and 17 seconds. But the fact that we have a new European champion on a Monday Night Raw felt important, especially what D'Lo was doing for the title. Felt like a really big crowning moment for X-Pac here. Finish felt a little rushed in the end. I think it's because they try to jam a lot into the end of this card, but we're going to see a little bit more of this rematches down the line, obviously in the recent future. But great match, and I can't say enough good things about the chemistry between the two of them.
No, absolutely. I don't. My only fucking flaw from it is that it wasn't longer. Like it could have gone. This could have been a 15-minute match, and it would have, topped the Omega versus Okada at the Wrestle Kingdom. This was great. I really loved it. I think X-Pac deservingly gets his title win here. D'Lo Brown, underrated as shit. So good. This was the match of the night for me. I fucking loved it so much, and very cool to see that European title getting some love and putting on two really good guys, man. Absolutely here for it. Fucking loved it.
Yeah, European Championship's an underrated title lineage, and just there's some great moments, and we're going to see X-Pac and Shane at WrestleMania 15, which one of my favorite matches. Crazy. And I know that people rip on Shane in the ring, and because he just takes the shine away from other people, from the actual wrestlers, but the programs he did were memorable. My favorite match Shane had among all the matches probably was the program we had with X-Pac at WrestleMania. Yeah. But the European Championship is so awesome here, and it's clearly the IC title is the upper echelon mid card, but the European Championship feels special. It might be nostalgia blinding me here, but I miss it really badly.
I 100% agree with you. It was almost like the IC title and the European title were that stepping stone. Obviously, we hear about the IC title being it more, but if you're not the top guy like in Austin or Undertaker or whatever, the European title was your go-to to like, X-Pac deserves all the fucking praise in the world. Give him this title, and that's what it felt like. And I felt like that growing up. I felt like that in this moment right here. I really enjoyed it. I was pumped. It had meaning. It had prestige along with it. It was fun and it was great. We need more shit like that.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful title too. I mean, during this era, it doesn't get better than all these championship belts that are around here. The tag belts, the world title, the Smoking Skull is even a great title, and the IC title too. I mean, you can make the argument the older one's better, but there's something nostalgic about the oval one as well that they have here. Some great memories. The European Championship on display. Me too.
100%. I sent you that picture from when I was at WrestleMania, and they had all these titles just sitting on like a fucking crate with a tarp underneath it. I'm like, that's our life right there. Like, it's awesome, super badass, man. But you couldn't. I think aesthetically, best time for titles. I think you got the best of everything. And and it was before they started remaking and rehashing. And like that was 1990s heavy metal compared to what it turned into
back in my day. So we have a main event here. It is Ken Shamrock versus Mankind versus The Rock, and the winner gets a WWF title shot next week on Raw. Obviously, we'll have a resolution to this triple threat match and breakdown. We have Mankind talking to Michael Cole during the break, and Mankind is great. The charisma, probably Mick Foley messing with obviously all these guys, and like The Rock and Mankind being babyface here is such an interesting thing because we're not used to seeing it on our screen. We're so used to seeing The Rock doing the heel stuff and Mankind being the guy who's just always manipulated by Vince. It's so awesome to see them getting the reaction from the fans. And there's a couple moments here where, most notably, arrival moments for wrestlers. The People's Elbow we've seen week after week, and it's catching some momentum. This might be the first week that the crowd recognizes this move is, whether it be a finishing move, signature move, however he wants to present it here, the crowd goes nuts. As soon as he spine busters Ken Shamrock and he has him down and he goes on top of him and he looks around and he's about to pull the elbow pad off, the crowd's reacting and they're catching fire. So all the good stuff in this match, everybody looked strong and everyone got their shit in. And until the end where we have all this craziness where this is it winds up being a no contest. There's no winner. Undertaker and Kane run in the ring. They incapacitate everybody. And then 12 minutes and 30 seconds, the ref calls for the bell. Stone Cold Steve Austin comes down the ramp. He's trying to assess what's going on. And then he assaulted Mr. McMahon. Taker and Kane try to save him. And that's it. So we don't have a resolution to this match. It was a good match, 12 minutes and 30 seconds. Like I said, a lot of good stuff. MVP of this match has to be Ken Shamrock to me. He really went out there and dominated. There was a couple good spots here with him. Man, Ken Shamrock is an underrated talent. I know we speak about him every week, but you can see it helps develop The Rock as a main eventer and take him seriously as a man. And of course, the talent is undeniable, but three of these guys main eventing a Raw in 1998, it's awesome. And then the talent around the ring, Vince and Austin and Kane and Taker, it's awesome. It's an awesome time to be a wrestling fan.
100%. And just like you were praising Vince earlier about, how much he just hates Austin. Austin just goes out there. He's letting all these guys beat the shit out of each other. He goes after Vince. Doesn't even go after Taker and Kane. He's just like, fuck it. Going for Vince. Taking him out. Love that. Like, good little, like, fucking storytelling lines. Like, it's so awesome. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, and I mean, you could speak to all these guys. Everyone's so clear-cut to what their motives are. And I think that's what's missing sometimes in wrestling, where there's not the same consistent motive, where it changes from week to week. Like, I'm a face, so this is what I should be doing. But what you really should channel is what your character would want to do, because with human nature, there's like, everyone has a different desire in life, and Ken Shamrock's motives or Mankind's motives and The Rock's motives are all different things. And even though they're all baby faces by, definition, their wants and their needs as far as their characters go are going to be different. And that's why the best characters are the most well-defined, and the fans need to know what would be their reaction to a certain situation, being predictable and having consistency in the motive. There's no reason that Stone Cold should ever step out of the box of who he is as a character. Same thing with any of these guys. And it's evident once you have this consistency of their characters, they become these larger than life characters that fans get behind.
Yeah. Well fucking put, man.
All right, let's get into the pay-per-view. A lot to break down here. That was the go-home show. We have WWF Breakdown in your house, September 27th, 1998, from Hamilton, Ontario, the Copps Coliseum. All the same champions, aside from the new European champion, X-Pac, who won it back 9/21/1998. And now we have a women's champion, Jacqueline. She also won it on 9/20 in 1998. We open up with an epic video package to start the show. We have World War II imagery mixed with Vince McMahon, and he talks about a master plan, and he talks about this is going to be coming to completion tonight. What were your thoughts on this video package? It seems like they were thriving in this era where whoever was making these video packages can get you hyped up for any match.
Yeah, no, this was like golden era of video packages for pro wrestling and WWF, WWE in general. They never hit that stride again. I think this 98 to 2000 era, where we're getting these really beautiful build-up packages in the beginning. How often does a pay-per-view open up with a hype package like that anymore, where it's hook, line, sinker? You're already like, shit, I'm glad I bought this. This is what that felt like. It was really good. Absolutely loved it.
Absolutely. Great stuff. And like you said, it was one of the most notable moments where I realized they were so good at the video packages was, forget what pay-per-view it was, I can look it up, but it was a Raw exclusive pay-per-view. And probably 2004, 2003, it was the Test and Scott Steiner feud over Stacy Keibler.
Ooh.
And they did this video package, which you shouldn't care about the feud, but after you're done watching the video, you're like, this is the most well thought out feud I've ever seen in my life. I'll find the video and send it to you. But it just speaks volumes about what a video package can do for a storyline. And that was evident here. You feel like Vince is really putting all his chess pieces on the board and trying to figure out the best move to ultimately, again, consistently get the title off Austin. That is the motive and the edict that he puts out there for everyone. Get the title off Austin. And it's clear that's how they open it up. And if you've never watched Raw and you turned it on, you understood Vince's motives.
Yeah, no, so good. So good.
So we open up with the first match here. It's Owen Hart taking on Edge in our opener. They give this a decent amount of time, especially considering Raw. They open up with some, both these guys are Canadians. Obviously, they're in Hamilton, and Owen Hart's from Calgary. Edge is from Toronto. So this is two different areas of Canada, but they play it up. Owen's wearing a CFL jersey with the Canadian Football League jersey to get some reaction from here, and they're calling him a nugget. They're chanting at him. They go back and forth, and clearly Edge is still at the entry level of his career. He's still a little bit green here, but you could see some flashes of this main event level talent. Owen Hart's so smooth, so good in this role, and we have a lot to be said about this match. Like I said, 9 minutes and 16 seconds. We have Owen Hart getting the win. But we also, at the end of this match, we have a guy who looks similar to Edge. We talked about in the Dory Funk stuff, winds up being Christian, catches Edge's gaze. There's no security bothering him, obviously. And it's Christian, obviously, this is his TV debut. Owen grabs him for the rolling clutch pin for the win. This is the way you do it if you want to protect a character. Owen Hart gets the win here, deservedly so. Like, this is the guy who should get the win. Edge loses, but everyone looks at it. He was distracted. So it was the perfect finish. And this is the first time we're seeing Christian here on TV. Mystery character. And he goes straight from the Dory Funk training camp. He's right on our goddamn TV. He's about to win that light heavyweight championship pretty goddamn soon. I think it's going to be coming in the coming weeks where it's going to be good stuff. And the Brood is emerging here. Yeah,
thriving. Very cool. Awesome debut for Christian. Fun match. Good stuff. Like the camaraderie back and forth between the Canadian shit with Owen and the crowd, and Edge looked great, man. It was really good.
Yeah, this again, like I said, this match was like, again, you got to remember this is Edge's third month in the business at this point. As far Insane. As the business, I mean, he was working the Canadian indies and all that, teaming with Christian, but as far as being on the WWF stage in a big way, this is a big thing for him to open up a show against Owen Hart.
Yeah, huge. Absolutely huge.
In Canada.
Canada.
We have a little segment here. Doc Hendricks, as we know. I love the name Doc Hendricks, by the way.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
He's with Sable, and they tell us they'll be talking to the winners of tonight's matches on the WWF hotline. This just speaks to the time in 1998. This is the way they're trying to interact with the fans. And I give them some credit here. They want to interact with fans and find a way to get people involved in the product. I never participated in a hotline. It cost money, so I never really had to do it as a kid. But I understand the desire to do it, and it would have been something I would have enjoyed as a kid.
Yeah, those very, very bad, very, very choppy WWF.com videos were my favorite shit as a kid growing up. But like sometimes the internet wouldn't even fucking work. You were running off dial up. Like it was no consistent, but it really was road mapping to the future. But these were cool. I liked when they cut to the backstage area. You see that giant old ass fucking Macintosh Windows looking computer, and they got the announcer's table set up, and it's a cool vibe, man. I like the aesthetic of it.
So the next match here is Too Much, which is obviously the team of Too Cool. They're 2 years away from being the hottest act in Madison Square Garden during the Royal Rumble, but they're still becoming a tag team here, taking on Al Snow and Scorpio. So this was a Memphis-y type of match with a lot of some of the classic stuff. But I'll let you lead us through here. Tell us what you liked about it and tell us the finish.
Yeah, no, listen, I'll always pop seeing Too Cold Scorpio on my television, especially not in ECW world, but I thought this was a solid match. It was cool. I was shocked that El Snow and Scorpio actually got the win, but El Snow's kicking ass. He's doing his thing. He hits a snowplow at the end on Taylor. He gets the whole fucking shebang. But it was good. I thought it was fun. Like I said, the chemistry between El Snow and Scorpio, obviously they mesh so well together because they came from ECW. But
yeah,
I mean, too much, too cool, too hot, too sexy, whatever you want to call it. I love it. Very underrated tag team in this, especially in this era. This pops. It was a solid, fun watch without a headache. I enjoyed the shit out of it.
Yeah, I agree. This was a fun match. Like I would call it a popcorn match where you didn't really care too much about who won, who lost. But what really, I watched this and people talk about finishing moves, and we talked about Randy Orton on Monday about his finishing move landing on his back thousands of times over the course of many years, hitting the RKO. And Hulk Hogan has had a hip replacement because he dropped that leg on how many house shows, like 300 days a year where he's dropping that leg, getting the win, brother. Man, Brian Christopher's Tennessee Jam leg drop from the top rope, landing directly on his tailbone. And I understand it's, he's not doing it every match, but man, you do that enough times. How are you even able to walk? Like that, that might be the best top rope leg drop ever. And I don't care about high flying guys doing flips. As far as the height and landing directly down on the guy's head with the leg drop, absolutely insane. If you guys are not familiar, you forget what Brian Christopher's top rope Tennessee Jam leg drop looks like, go and check that shit out. That guy gets massive height, massive impact, and there's no faking that shit, man. You're landing directly on your tailbone.
Yeah, no, very impressive. No matter what, absolutely love it.
So we have Michael Cole in the back. He's with Taker and Kane, and he wants to know who's going to win the WWF title tonight. Taker says it's none of your goddamn business, but we have come to an understanding. Kane and I are working together. We're going to see the total annihilation of Stone Cold Steve Austin, and Jim Ross is on the mic, and he's the best, man. He's like, Stone Cold's going to overcome this, and he he's Austin's biggest supporter. It's awesome.
I love it. Yeah, and which is refreshing too. You need the heel face commentary team because Lawler just shits on everything. But Jim Ross there talking about his boy Stone Cold Steve Austin. He's gonna do this, damn it. He's gonna win. He's gonna kill it. I love it.
So our next match here, we have Mark Marrow taking on Droz. We have Jacqueline coming out with Mark Marrow. She comes out without the WWF Women's Championship belt, and we have still yet to see it.
Credibility.
There's no belt, but she's the champion. But Mark Marrow is jumping Droz from the start. This match goes pretty quick. Mark Marrow gets the win. 5 minutes and 12 seconds. Again, pay-per-view call. I mean, not here for this. Droz, what could have been, and obviously he gets injured and all that stuff, but you see some great talent from Droz, some good charisma. Mark Marrow doesn't do it for me. We covered him in 1996 WCW, and he's just there, man. This at least we got a goddamn finish. I agree. Droz got pinned. Also, I'm glad it wasn't a no contest because we're too cowardly to pin any of these. We got to protect everybody. Well, Mark Marrow got the win. 5 minutes, 12 seconds. Who cares, really?
Yeah, no, the biggest question out of this is what could have been for Droz because I didn't see it.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying.
Charisma, great, but he got stuck with the shitty gimmick, gets thrown into this, and it never really comes out of this correctly. It's just bad. Start off on the wrong foot.
You can make an argument that the Droz, the team with LOD kind of stunted his growth as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you get teamed with an established act, it becomes like that's what you're known for, and then you try to have to reestablish who you are. What we've seen with other guys with these shitty gimmicks, like Val Venus, I mean, it's a shitty gimmick. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
He just bought into it. Godfather, shitty gimmick. It's just as bad as the new generation employee professional gimmicks, where you got a guy who's a hockey player, and you got a guy who's a Duke the Dumpster Drozy, who's a garbage man, and Doink the Clown,
truck driver. Yeah,
it's just a different variation of that, but everyone else overcame it. And Droz bought into it. I just don't think fans bought into it as well. I think the raw skills were there, but it's what could have been. I mean, his career ended so rapidly. I mean, it's only a year from this point where he's paralyzed, unfortunately. And I think he probably would have had a place on the card for quite some time and had a profitable career because he was still growing as a person who was a standout during these training camps. So I think we would have seen something special out of him, maybe some singles titles. And it's just, I mean, it's unfortunate what happened.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I mean, former football player, they love their former football players with the athletic background. So, they would have found a place on the card for him for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Next match here was, again, another match that probably has no place on a pay-per-view card, especially with the embarrassment of riches that is the roster. It's a Falls Count Anywhere match. Bradshaw defeated Vader, and we, again, back and forth. There was some crazy stiff stuff in this match. These guys are two legitimate tough guys. Fans didn't react. Ultimately, this match obviously didn't help either guy at this point because Bradshaw is still going to be a tag guy. Vader is a guy who has lost all his shine at this point. If you had any stock in Vader as far as doing something, I think they used the last of it on Kane at No Way Out. I think Kane took the last of his shine. But at this point, we're going to see Vader working house shows through October. I don't think I keep saying it week to week, but I don't think we're going to see him on TV anymore. And it kind of sucks because he still had a lot more to give, especially as he was in shape. He does return to Japan. And I think Meltzer gives him most improved wrestler in 1999, becomes a 2-time Triple Crown champion. He wrestles Misawa a few times. He was wrestling for the world tag titles with Dr. Death. He won the GHC tag titles with Scorpio over the next 3 years. I would say leaving WWF probably worked out well for him, and he gets in shape because he's motivated by them kind of saying you need to get in shape. But I just think the writing was always on the wall. They never wanted to push him as that big monster. And it's a shame he was right there. You're looking for a guy to wrestle Stone Cold. It's just they never presented him in that way. And if you look at WCW, early 90s WCW, Vader was an absolute fucking beast. I don't understand why they couldn't present him that way.
No, I don't get it either. It's crazy. But I did love Bradshaw's freshly jet black dyed hair for this this match. This was more of along the JBL Bradshaw, I thought, like gimmick look wise. And but yeah, this was nothing's fancy. I felt very bad for Vader coming down the ramp, he's soaking it in. There's some people in the crowd throwing up the V. He's just milking, he's really sulking, bringing it all in. You could see it in his face. But I thought it was I didn't think it was a bad match. There was some good stiff stuff in there, but nothing. Like, who cares? You know, where do we go with
Right.
that?
No, again. Yeah. Who
Yeah,
cares?
it had no place on the card.
Next match here, we have Gangrel taking on D'Lo Brown. And D'Lo Brown is upset at Howard Finkel, saying that he's no longer the WWF European champion after losing to X-Pac. Match goes back and forth. It's pretty quick. 7 minutes and 46 seconds. It would be a long match on Raw, but for pay-per-view, it's not that long.
Yeah.
Gangrel takes his first loss. I mean, D'Lo's still protected here. Despite losing X-Pac, he's still a guy they see a lot of future in. And Gangrel just debuted not too long ago. He was protected. I'm glad they gave us a finish here. And we have D'Lo getting the win, and deservedly so. He's a guy who should get the win in this spot. Gangrel, after the match, spits blood in Mark Henry's face. He gives D'Lo the Impaler. And, you know, that's the way that they kind of keep some of the momentum on Gangrel's side. But right decision is D'Lo Brown getting the win here. I think D'Lo is an important part of what you're building. Despite him losing the European title, that's okay. He need a win here on pay-per-view, and I think it was the right decision.
Yeah, no, if they would have went the other way, it would have killed D'Lo's hype, man. And like, especially after losing the European Championship, this is a great way to kind of reset your footing. I thought this guy High looked amazing as always. And Gangrel, man, another underrated dude, fucking awesome to watch in the ring. Love the Impaler, love the gimmick, the blood. Like it slapped, man. It was good.
So the ring crew's setting up the cage. So we're going to have a whole bunch of segments in the back, bouncing back to back. Michael Cole's first backstage with Ken Shamrock. And he says, how far are you going to go to become the number one contender? Shamrock said, I came to the WWF to become the champion. Nothing else matters. We go to Doc Hendricks. He's out elsewhere talking with The Rock. Rock says more of the same stuff. He calls Ken Shamrock, and he also calls Mankind two monkey asses. Rock talks about sugar-coated testes. I mean, Rock is kind of falling into his own here as far as promos go, and he's leaning on a lot of the catchphrases and all that stuff with the People's Eyebrow and People's Champion. But man, his ability to cut promos off the fucking cuff is he's the best at it. He's the best.
So good. I loved this trios of interviews before the match too. I thought that was done so damn good. And it gave you a taste of each character a little bit more and what they were bringing to the match. So I really liked it. And Mick Foley, as good as The Rock was, Mick Foley's shining fucking so bright during these interviews. So awesome.
Mankind ends the interview he does with Kevin Kelly in the bowels of the Copps Coliseum and middle. It's got to be the boiler room. He says, I wonder if sugar-coated testes is a new breakfast cereal. So, I mean, Mankind has his chops as well, too. So, great dynamic with all of them. And that leads us into a cage match. Which is The Rock, Mankind, and Ken Shamrock. And the winner of this match will get the WWF title shot, presumably tomorrow night on Raw. We got the no contest, the main event on Raw, and we need to figure out who's going to be doing that. Man, this match is fun. We have a lot of great spots here. And this cage in 1998, this feels a little different as far as making, you know, it's going to toughen you up a little bit. There's no faking some of this shit. So
yeah.
Great match, in my opinion. And I forgot this match happened. I would guarantee that people that even watched WWF 1998, I think this one is one of the matches that falls by the wayside as far as your memory goes, because all these guys are interconnected. Of course, one of The Rock's most pivotal feuds is with Ken Shamrock, and one of his most pivotal feuds will be with Mankind the next year with the I Quit match and everything that goes on with that.
Yeah.
The three of these guys, man, turn it up to another level. These guys are confident in the ring, and you really walked into this match not knowing who would win. And that was the best part about it. I mean, I'll let you go through some of it. There's some crazy fucking risks that all these guys take in this match. At any moment, this could have been career altering, career ending. Some of the stuff that they were doing in this match, man, taking risk. And you could tell that these guys were invested in putting on the best possible match on pay-per-view. It took it to the next level.
No, I mean, you are talking about three of the best competitors that step into a ring in general, and then you throw them together, and then you have them in a steel cage match. And this cage is so brutal, so barbaric, that stiff steel. Like, I couldn't imagine watching Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega wrestle in this thick bar cage. Like, they would kill each other, much like these guys did. There was some really, really good stuff. The Rock is so damn good, selling like fucking crazy. He's selling his ass off in this match, and so is Foley, so is Sham. Like, I'm telling you, this is really, really good shit. And it makes up for the no contest from Raw, you know. So like, if you're invested and you are watching everything, like, you're getting your payoff here. which was great. But I mean, all three guys beat the living shit out of each other. I love the double people's elbow. I love even the abdominal stretch. Nobody does that shit anymore. In a night, like it was so well done. But these guys literally put it all out there, absolutely. And The Rock doing what The Rock does. He gets the pinfall on Shamrock. So damn good, man. I love the smarts of Foley climbing. Oh, I'm gonna climb out the cage and get the win, and then everything's gonna be good. And The Rock's like, "Fuck that! We're done, jabroni. Like, I'm not playing this shit. Like, fucking work smart, not hard." It's so good, so
100%. And like I mentioned before, you mentioned all the great spots too, and the crowd reaction to everything was great. They're eating everything out of the palm of their hands, and that was what made this match even more memorable to me, and how great it was. And again, go out of your way to check this match out. Out of all the matches on this card, I feel like this match and the main event are very memorable.
Yeah,
the spot where, I mean, again, Mankind is taking bumps upon bumps, and they almost kind of fall into a pattern where like you almost forget them, and everything falls below that King of the Ring spot in 1998. But I mean, the cactus elbow off the top of the cage is a rough spot to be doing, and it's not. Man, it's just it's just crazy. Looking. And some of the chair shots you see in this match, these guys are another level. The commitment is unreal.
The fandom is like that. This is it. This is the shit that you eat up all day long, and you're like, just fucking take me back to the nostalgia buffet, because this is what I want all day long. Chair shots, unprotected. Nick Foley's Superfly.
Dude, Shamrock just has a knack for taking fucking chair shots right to the face. Like, did he just tell them to hit him right? Why? Like, why would he ask to take right in the face? It hits him right in the nose.
Believability, I don't know. Like anybody taking chair shots to the head, like they're all super cringy, but like Shamrock fucking just like light me up, kid. Like I don't know how he does it, but I love it. Absolutely love it. It did make for really intense storytelling, and my God, if there's three tougher guys in the business, show them off, because this is a fucking barn burner, man.
Great match, man. I give it 5 stars. I think Meltzer gave it 4.5, but I mean, 5-star match. One of the better cage matches you're going to see, as far as that stubborn cage that is not the same cage we know and love today. This was a different level. So
I did love the fucking square cage though. It was great. It was stiff, and this is probably one of the better cage matches of the whole 90s. Like this was fan-fucking-tastic, man.
Yeah, I'd put it up there with even the Triple H Mankind one at SummerSlam 97. I think that cage is great. I mean, you can go even with the Austin Vince cage at St. Valentine's Day Massacre as far as that cage go. And you can even go further back, Rick Rude Ultimate Warrior cage at SummerSlam 90. But like this cage, like you close the book on it. Like this cage is unforgiving. This is the type of shit like this type of metal. I mean, I think the most brutal bump out of all of them was that the door by China straight to Foley's head. But that cage is just, I'm sure people were very happy to see it retired.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Much like the older ring, their older ring was like hitting concrete. So this cage was built for that ring. So obviously it's stiff as shit.
So next match here, we have Val Venus taking on Dustin Runnels. And this is, Terry Runnels at ringside. This is the first time in nearly a year we're seeing her. She's no longer Marlena. She's Terry Runnels. She's wearing a purple nightie to match Val Venus's tights. This is Val Venus getting the win here. Hits the money shot. Val and Terry make out in the middle of the ring, and Dustin walks out totally defeated. Crowd doesn't really react to this as much as you probably think they would. Val Venus doing heel things, but getting a face reaction. Match was just there. Val Venus, he's involved in some mid-card stuff here, and he's an important character throughout 1998, but this mini feud is going to be coming to an end soon.
Yeah, nobody cares about Dustin Rhodes in 1998. They're like, fuck
it
this
sucks
guy.
Because they're tossing some experimental stuff going on, but it's not hitting. Like all this stuff going on with Dustin Runnels and the artist formerly known as Goldust, as we saw earlier in the year. It just is.
Nobody cares.
It leaves a lot to be desired as far as what we saw from Goldust only a year prior, where he was one of the more memorable characters, similar to Val Venus. Like Goldust had that edge to him in 97.
100%. Very good compare and contrast right there. I like it.
Next match here, we have DX taking on Jeff Jarrett and Southern Justice. DX is, the team of X-Pac, Billy Gunn, and the Road Dogg taking on Jeff Jarrett and Southern Justice, as I mentioned. Match is a little bit too long. I mean, X-Pac is, a great seller. He's the new European champion. Would have liked to see him defending the title here. Of course, we don't get that. But it was a fun match with some spots. It's a normal 6-man tag match. At least we got a finish. I'll say that. The one thing that I looked at, I mean, this is probably paint by numbers, as the Chads like to say, as far as 6-man tag matches go. It's what you're going to do. Obviously, DX gets the win.
Yeah.
Rocker Dropper, we do see the return of the Famouser getting the win. No more swinging neck breaker from Billy Gunn. One thing, though, that I noticed is Jeff Jarrett hits X-Pac with the guitar, but X-Pac is holding his eye. And I'm curious to see any feedback on this, that if a splinter from the wood went in his eye. So I'm curious by that. But the way he was selling it looked like there was no joke that a piece of the wood went in there. So I'm sure we'll hear about it in the newsletter next week.
It possibly could have happened, but also the takeaway here is it's kind of planting the seeds for that X-Pac Jeff Jarrett feud that comes down the line. So it's good stuff. Like, like Southern Justice, I'm good. Like, I don't need to see these guys on my screen, blah, blah, blah. But there was some interesting shit here. And like you said, that guitar selling by X-Pac is some good shit right there.
Yeah, Jeff Jarrett, I mean, he is a guy who, whatever. I mean, in this role, not so bad. I mean, even in the role he is on AEW television right now, I know we're being critical of him actively. Would I rather him not get a tag title shot? Of course, but it's kind of harmless to see him in this role, and he was putting guys over. I think it's okay. And we saw X-Pac and Jeff Jarrett have that match at SummerSlam, and he got embarrassed. He shaved his head, all that stuff. But you're using him in this role, and I think people, they get stuck in the WCW TNA days where he was considered a top guy. That's where you lose me. Like, when you start putting the title on him and he's a guy you're building the show around, that's where you lose me. Like, in this role as a mid-card guy challenging for the IC title and he's just around there, cool with it. Amazing. Yeah. But when you start making him the guy, like I'm supposed to believe he's the best guy on the roster, that's where you lose me. And that's just me. I'm not a fan, and I don't buy it. Some guys you just don't buy, and I don't buy him as a top guy.
100%. And I totally agree with that. Like, trust me, there's some amazing Jeff Jarrett moments out there in the world, but whatever. Fuck off.
Yeah. So let's go to our main event here. It's the WWF Championship, a triple threat match. Stone Cold Steve Austin taking on Kane and The Undertaker. Lead us through, Belcaster. This was one of the more Vince Russo-centric finishes. This was a creative way to move the title, to say the least. We got a decent amount of time, 22 minutes and 18 seconds of, I mean, good shit, pal.
No, listen, again, 3 fucking badass dudes in the ring together running shit. You get your classic Taker stuff, you get your classic Kane, your classic Austin. So good. The second we said we were covering this episode, I was so fucking infuriated because this finish pissed me off as a fan back then. I was like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Obviously, it leads to something down the road, but we get a double pin. Undertaker and Kane both pin Stone Cold. I just, like, I flabbergasted. Like, as you said, Vince Russo stuff going on, but I mean, it's crazy, man. The only way to take the title off of Austin is by shenanigans, right? And this is blatantly one of those things to fuck around with it. I was pissed. I remember going to bed waiting. I can't wait for fucking Raw tomorrow. I don't know what they're gonna do. Austin's gonna get the title back. He's gonna win, goddamn. But this was insane. It was one of the wilder booking moments for the main event, or for the title picture, man. Absolutely crazy. But
it's interesting too, because you thought eventually, usually in this capacity, you'd have Kane and Taker turning against each other. It just never happened. So this was a 2-on-1 handicap match, and they stuck to the plan, and it worked out for the both of them. And we don't know, like you said, who the champion is, because they don't make an announcement who the champion is. Fink couldn't get on the mic and say it.
Yeah.
So no announcement was made. Vince McMahon comes down, he takes the belt, and then he just goes to the locker room. So Slaughter, Patterson, and Briscoe are kind of in front of Austin long enough for Vince to get in the limousine and ride off with the belt. Austin gets backstage, and as long as it's as far as he's flipping Austin, and he's doing the finger in front of out of the limo window. And to me, like, I get the idea of the match. Like, I get the idea of doing this because, like you said, it's a creative way to get the title off Austin without burying him and not making him feel weak. But it's a 22-minute handicap match it's
unbearable.
I don't know. I don't think it's the way I would main event a pay-per-view. And like you said, you're going to bed as a kid upset. I'm sure a lot of people were upset. This is, to me, I mean, all of this was a way to get people to watch TV the next night. And this also just speaks to how popular they were. They could do things like this and know people will return the next night. And it speaks volumes about how confident they were in the audience they were establishing, because it's a risky move to do what they did to Austin here.
Yeah, no, and this is like a glorified version of the Raw we just watched. Like
Yeah.
it all led to that. So it's weird, but again, it wasn't terrible. It's not like I'm shitting all over it saying this is an abomination. Like it's just 1998 wrestling, and you're starting to see the Russo shit come through. Like it's just weird booking. It's not what we're used to, and we're just it left this. Trust me, as I'd probably have a better review on it if I didn't watch it as a kid. But
Yeah.
I'm still stuck with that shit taste in my mouth of like, dude, fuck this pay-per-view.
So the interesting part following the show, and we'll get into the next Raw. We're going to go over 2 hours, guys. So sit tight, enjoy the ride. We're having a good time on a Friday night.
Yeah.
The interesting part is they never came back to this arena in Hamilton, Ontario, and maybe it's because of the way the crowd was reacting. They were mostly quiet. They only popped for the big moments. We talked about the reaction to the Rock match. They never came back. I mean, if as far as crowd reactions, I think a lot of fans they don't get a second chance as far as arenas go. And Canada's not on the monthly rotation for WWF, and maybe this was part of we're not going back to Hamilton. That crowd sucks, and like a lot of audiences have reputations. We talk about Chicago, New York, Boston. You know how they're going to. Even Toronto is a very hot crowd.
Yeah,
Puerto Rico now a hot crowd, but some crowds are just they're bad crowds, and if the atmosphere is going to be mediocre, I always go back to the Connecticut crowds. I always feel a little bit weak. Sorry, Connecticut, but New Haven Coliseum or whatever it is, crowds are always whack. WrestleMania 11 was always whack as far as crowds go, but they never came back here. And I'm sure if the crowd's going to suck, why would you come back?
Yeah, 100%. And what if you're not getting the reaction you want or are desired to get from the crowd? There's no point in running those venues. There's no point in being there. So I get it. It sucks. And I have the opposite problem. They know Chicago's great, but they don't book enough here. It's horseshit.
Yeah, I mean, you guys got how many AEW pay-per-views in Chicago?
I'm in Fed Bubble, especially
yeah.
Why haven't we had a Royal Rumble in Chicago? The crowd would fucking eat that up in a heartbeat. Yeah,
100%. Very good point.
But AEW has definitely forgiven the forgiven button.
100%. I agree with you. And like I said, some of the best moments in wrestling history happen in the certain cities, and people want to be like, why do they keep going back to the same cities over and over again? AEW runs the Chicago market because they react the way they want them to react. So if you guys want certain products to come to you guys, you have to. It's like a tryout. I mean, these crowds have to impress when you're there. So you're not going to get WrestleMania. You're not going to get SummerSlam if you're not a crowd that's going to react. You're going to sit on your hands and wait for them to impress me, as Hawk would say. You have to react, and you're just as much part of the show as well.
100%, man.
Speaking of a hot crowd, we have the Joe Louis Arena. They're the hosts of September 28th, 1998, Detroit, Michigan. We have our champions as followed. Everyone's the same, aside for the WWF Championship is now vacated. So we have that shadow outline of a person. He is our champion at this moment. They show the master plan video package from last night's breakdown pay-per-view, and we lead right in. The glass breaking. Austin, you think is coming out, but it's Vince McMahon. He's holding the Smoking Skull title. Briscoe, Patterson, Slaughter at his side. And we also have Detroit's finest police officers as Vince gets a giant escort to the ring. He is obviously a marked man. Stone Cold obviously pissed about what happened. Jim Ross puts it best, saying you couldn't sandblast the smile off of Vince McMahon's face. He was so happy to what happened. His man worked. He gets on the mic. He lets Austin and all the WWF fans know that Austin will not get a rematch for this championship. And he says to show you don't hold grudges, I decree tonight as Stone Cold Steve Austin night. Vince then jokes that Austin will have an easy access around the facility because there's police outside the building waiting for him, obviously, to keep him out. And we will get a new WWF champion crowned tonight. The man who will be crowned WWF champion tonight will be giving the official WWF championship belt, not the Smoking Skull belt that we've come to know and love. It's a pedestal. Vince calls out to Austin, asking him if he will join the rest of WWF as we crown a new champion. Let Vince know you have made your decision. Commissioner Slaughter puts the Smoking Skull belt around Vince's waist, and he says, I hope everybody enjoys Raw tonight. Vince then climbs 2 of the 4 corners to get the ovation he believes he deserves. Man, this is going to be a great moment. I can't wait to break it down with you. But opening segment, they're just basking in the heat here in Detroit. The crowd was giving them the reaction. You want to take Tale of Two Cities? Detroit was like, we know our role. We're going to react the way we react, and we're happy to have the product in front of us.
100% Vince just pulling the strongest fucking heel card out on here, like decreeing it Stone Cold Night, like inviting him
So
out there.
good.
Come on, Austin, you want to be part of the family with us while we crown our new champ? Like, oh my God, that shit you want to spit in somebody's face over, you know? So great job by
So
Vince,
good.
great job by everybody, just beautiful put together on it.
So we have our opening match here of the night, Southern Justice taking on the New Age Outlaws. So Dennis Knight and Mark Canterbury taking on New Age Outlaws. And this is a match for the WWF Tag Team Championship. So yes, yawn exactly, Mike Belcaster. We get a DQ finish. Of course, you got to protect Southern Justice because why can't they take a pinfall here? Jim Ross does mention that we have some DX hard times going on. Triple H's knee is hurt. Road Dogg's throat has a splinter in his eye. Detroit absolutely going crazy for the New Age Outlaws. They're absolutely pumped. Match goes back and forth, but we do get a DQ finish. So Jeff Jarrett tries to interfere with the guitar. Road Dogg grabs it away, and he hits Dennis Knight for the DQ. 3 minutes and 1 second. Road Dogg's upset. So is Billy Gunn. X-Pac comes out, tries to calm him down. And then X-Pac gets hit in his work eye where they believe the splinter is there. And then China wheels Triple H down the aisle in a wheelchair. And Billy Gunn doesn't want anything to do with them. So we're getting a little dissension. You know, interesting stuff. Trying to keep it interesting, especially with Triple H. It's hurt now. Got to keep him relevant.
Yeah, I think this is a good side story to take your mind away from the Austin stuff too. So you're getting your favorite faction, Degeneration X, kind of falling apart at the seams, and in a good way. Like, I think they did a great job with it. X-Pac selling the shit out of the eye. A little bit of heat in between everybody. China just hanging out with Hunter, you know, rolling him around the arena. Like, it's good. I'm here for it.
So our next match here is another no contest. It's Dan Severn and Owen Hart. This is a submission match, and they only give it 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Dan Severn finally is carrying, after all the lobbying he did, we talked about it in the newsletter, to carry the NWA and UFC heavyweight championship belts. It doesn't look like the official UFC belt. And again, it might have changed over time, not exactly what belts, but it's just to create some legitimacy for Dan Severn as this legitimate tough guy. So Owen and Severn go back and forth. It's a submission match. Obviously, they're trying to get submission. Crowd's not reacting. He hits him with the Owen driver. And this is the other interesting part. And I heard this shoot interview where they're talking about Stone Cold and the Owen Hart stuff and with the broken neck. They do the exact same angle that happened at SummerSlam 97 where Dan Severn, but they're selling it like a shoot here where Dan Severn, they believe his neck is broken and they take the break. They do the stretcher job all the way to the ambulance, and Ross and Jerry Lawler are selling it like it's real. Yeah, not a good look, especially like what just happened with Austin in 97. I can't imagine Austin's in the back seeing this happen and being like, dude, this just happened to me in real life. And you guys are making an angle out of it. And, you know, we know it's work
weird
eventually, but Dan Severn selling it like it's real. It's bizarre. It's bizarre.
Now you got me like thinking about Austin and Gorilla going like, God damn, Severn, you're fucking selling the shit out. Like, it's so bad. Like, but too close to home, you know, you can't pull that kind of shit. I mean, it obviously didn't do the feud any good, because we do remember Dan Severn and Owen Hart being in WWF in 1998, but who the fuck cares if they're wrestling each other, especially in like who does a submission match in 2 minutes 20 seconds and then calls it on a fucking pile driver. He's just dumb. Bad booking.
Our next match here, Al Snow taking on Vader. Vader now has Sergeant Slaughter in his corner, and we're not sure what was the relationship between Slaughter and Vader, and even the announcers, Ross and Lawler, are confused too. Al Snow gets beaten up. The crowd wants head. They start chanting back and forth. We get Snow swinging head at Sergeant Slaughter, gets whacked by Vader, and then whacks Vader with head behind the ref's back for the win. Vader does kick out at 3. He's about to leave WWF. They want to make sure he's protecting himself. This is old school. He's going over to All Japan to do his stuff with Misawa, like we mentioned before. But yeah, I mean, Al Snow gets the win here with head, and he's over, and Vader's on his way out.
Yeah, Vader should know better than kicking out after the 3 count. That shit doesn't
That's
fly
a Bobby
here
Fish
anymore.
move.
Where's the lie? Where's the lie?
That's still to me, and I don't want to go on a tangent here because we're at 2 hours, but The Bobby Fish kicking out of the GTS is the most confusing thing of all time for me. That I remember watching, like, are they protecting Bobby Fish to this point right now?
It was weird, right? And then like he showed up on Impact, and everybody's like, "Oh, he fucked up." So, well, yeah, whatever. It's good. But then, listen, yeah, whatever. If poor Vader, I feel bad for the man.
I agree.
And nothing says G.I. Joe more than putting Vader with Sergeant Slaughter. What the fuck was that?
So Billy Gunn's shown leaving the arena. He's taking his bags, going home. They're trying to really sell this DX Dissension. And we have a number one contendership 6-man elimination match for the European Championship. We have Draws, D'Lo Brown, Edge, Gangrel, Jeff Jarrett, and Mark Marrow. And this is a pretty fun match. Goes 5 minutes and 11 seconds for 5 guys to be eliminated. They go pretty goddamn quick. People get in there and spam their finish. The winner gets a European title shot, which is going to be down the line. They didn't say when they're getting it, but it goes in this order. Edge eliminates Gangrel, Draws and Jarrett get a double counted out. Edge eliminated Mark Marrow, and then the final 2 were there. D'Lo Brown eliminated Edge. D'Lo gets the win. He'll get a rematch against X-Pac down the line. I'm not a huge fan of the guys getting pinned so quickly with limited time in the ring, and it's, again, they're trying to fit a lot into a small period of time, 5 minutes and 11 seconds. For a 6-man elimination match, just kind of conceptualize this if you haven't watched the Raw. There's a lot that has to happen. Like, at least this match has 10, 11, 12 minutes to just grow, but you can't do anything. You got to eliminate 5 guys in 5 minutes. It's like there's no everything is a pinfall.
Yeah, no, it's silly. Great concept for a match idea, though. I love the elimination style. Throw 6 guys in there, let them do their thing. Wish we would see it more often, but 5 minutes, fucking get out of here. It's ridiculous. But glad D'Lo Brown won, because we're looking at the real deal now. I'm pumped. I'm ready to roll. It's good.
Love the sky high. Love the lowdown. I love every D'Lo Brown's great, man. I mean, D'Lo Brown is very underrated. When is that elite figure coming out of D'Lo Brown?
Soon, very soon. It's got to be within the next couple months.
With a chest protector?
Yeah. So excited for it, man. I love D'Lo. He
have those hips that move you guys were talking about on Fig Night.
You know what? No, because it's only the Ultimates that have those cool hips, which is just
my Bret Hart has the hips, as you guys were talking.
He's got the hips.
I was playing. I was playing around with him.
He's got the sweet hips that move and do shit. But we don't need hip displacements for fucking Sky Highs. We make shit go with D'Lo Brown.
Dude,
yeah.
That he's got to stretch those legs out far, but we'll see what the figure does. All right, so we enter the war zone, and we have Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler leading us in, and we're going to get the famous segment we talked about. This is why we're all here, as far as memorable moments. Vince McMahon and his stooges are coming out to the ring. They got the police again, and there's police inside the ring. They have the glass case containing the WWF Championship belt, not the Smoking Skull, but the big round one that we know and love with the winged eagle on it. We got fancy red carpeting in the ring. This is going to be a ceremony, everybody. So Vince is trying to get the people to respect the belt presentation ceremony. He says, everyone quiet down. Of course, they're all booing him. And he says, before I announce the new WWF champion, I want Taker and Kane to come out in the ring. They both come out, separate entrances. No explosion of the turnbuckles, obviously, for Kane. They wouldn't want the policemen. They're in the ring. It's loud. If you guys have been to a live event with those pyro. So
it's insane.
Nothing going on. Vince continues. He's on the mic. He's really stretching it out here. Starts giving all the superlatives. Oh, everything. You guys are great. Thank you so much for everything. We're going to announce the champion. We get an interruption by Stone Cold. It's coming out. Everyone's looking towards us, and we get a fucking Zamboni. And this is like, this is so era. Fucking awesome in Detroit, especially and if you guys are hockey fans in the Joe Louis Arena. So many great hockey moments, and the Detroit Red Wings in 1998 were great.
Yeah.
In a Zamboni, like hockey was a very big moment. I know Detroit is rivals with the Chicago Blackhawks, but this
still got love for him. Absolutely
insane. He drives over a light, drives through the curtain under the Titantron. The Titantron bucks up a little bit. He leaps off the Zamboni, jumps through the policeman. He jumps right on Vince. Taker and Kane are standing there. They can't care less. The Stooges and the policemen are trying to get Austin off McMahon. The police then handcuff Austin. They escort him into a squad car. Austin is smiling all the way, and he's screaming at the camera, I ain't through with you, Vince. I ain't through with you yet. Not by a long shot. So goddamn good. Vince comes over to the squad car yelling. He's like, send his ass to jail. Send him to jail. Goddamn.
I love it so much. Yeah, this is fucking beautiful.
So good. So good. And this ages so well. Like, as far as like vehicles in wrestling, it happens a lot. Like we get the beer truck, and then we get the milk truck with Kurt Angle, and they do a whole bunch of stuff. But a Zamboni coming to the ring, kind of unheard of as far as things going on here. And him doing the Luthez press off of the top of the Zamboni in the ring, it's awesome. And and I understand they try to replicate moments like this, and sometimes it does work. Even like the Brock Lesnar stuff at SummerSlam with the tractor lifting the ring up.
Yeah, that was cool.
That had to, Austin had to walk before everybody else could have done any of this. And Austin was an innovator. And I'm sure he's a guy who's playing a pivotal part with the creativity of his character. Like, this is what my character would do. I'd get to the ring with whatever vehicle. I throw fucking concrete in Vince's car. I'll do whatever it takes to fuck with his life.
Yeah. Just the visual of Austin jumping off that fucking Zamboni. It's so memorable, man. But it's like, that is a flashbulb moment for pro wrestling. Seeing Austin dive over the fucking Detroit police crew and grab Vince and just beat the shit out of him. Like, so awesome. The I ain't done with you, Vince, not by a long shot. Like, words that echo in our childhood forever, man. It's just fucking such a beautiful, beautiful damn segment. I love every minute of it, man.
So in my excitement, I said Luthez press. He was a clothesline, but it's the same motion. And I would have been amazed if Vince took a Luthez press with like completely straddled over him, but just jumping off the top of the Zamboni into the ring. It's such a cool visual with the police guys around him and the red carpet. Awesome stuff. And we still don't have a WWF champion. We don't have a champion. We don't know who it's going to be. And I'm curious to see what they do from here.
Yeah, and absolutely wild to put this in the middle of the show, because how do you top any? Like, who gives a fuck about the rest of Raw after something so big like that happens? And it's the best. So good. So fucking good, man.
So this is another famous segment, too, that happens directly after this. And this is also surprising to me because I didn't think it happened on the same show, but apparently it did. As we were watching this, we saw it all happen in real time. Vince is still in the ring following the commercial break. He's talking to Taker and Kane, and he, obviously since they didn't go with their end of the deal, and their deal was to keep Steve Austin away from him, he says, I won't live up to my end of the deal, and neither one of you guys are getting the belt. And whether you like it or not, you're going to have to fight each other at the next pay-per-view at Judgment Day in your house, October 18th. And since you guys can't handle Steve Austin, Austin's going to be the special referee for this WWF title match. So Vince wants to witness Austin suffering through the indignity of having to count the pinfall for the new champion. They go back and forth. This pisses Taker and Kane off. So they go back and forth. And as Vince starts to leave, Taker grabs him by the jacket, tells him to watch his ass because the next time he crosses the line, Vince will be the one that's handicapped. And as the brothers turn away, Vince gives them the double middle finger. And, man, making good on his promise from just seconds ago, Taker and Kane can proceed to absolutely beat the shit out of Vince McMahon. And to make sure that he can't walk, Taker applies a knee bar while Vince makes sure that nobody can help in the ring. He takes care of Slaughter, Briscoe on the apron. McMahon is easy pickings for everybody. So McMahon's leg is already weakened. He gets dragged to the floor. Taker picks up the top half of the steps, and Kane puts Vince's left ankle onto the bottom half. They whack Vince's ankle. He's screaming. I mean, he's selling it like a piano dropped on his foot. And so apparently Meltzer mentions in the dirt sheets and in the newsletter throughout this time that this has some connection to the Montreal Screwjob where Vince limped out of the dressing room after getting punched by Brett. So Patterson is out there. He's doing loud overreaction. So I'm curious to see throughout the newsletter if we can find anything about why they did this. But apparently it was a nod to walking around with a limp as a fuck you to Brett. So I'm curious.
and I want to know the 5 fans that got that.
Exactly.
So, but cool. Like, whatever. It's great. Such an amazing segment, though.
So after the commercial break, Vince is with with Briscoe, Patterson, and Slaughter, some refs, trainers, even Mankind's over there, and Mankind's offering a sip of the big gulp. Like, you want some big gulp?
It's the biggest pop for me.
It's so good. There's no ambulance at the arena because it took away Dan Severn earlier in the show, which is the other thing that they mentioned. So Vince is in pain. He has to get his own way to the hospital, and every good independent show has an ambulance. You don't have another ambulance at the WWF arena? Come on.
Yeah, Bell, come on.
So we lead into our next match here. It's a quick one. Mark Henry taking on Farouk. The special referee is China, and they're building on this Mark Henry sexual chocolate relationship with China. Farouk defeated Mark Henry. Match only goes 1 minute and 15 seconds. China basket for the win. That's pretty much the story here. Next thing we know, China gets, served in the ring, and she rips up the papers, leaves Mark Henry and the papers behind. So there's drama going on here, obviously, with Mark Henry and China. They're trying to plant the seeds for more of the attitude era realism that a lot of people cared about, but a lot of people just kind of, it blew past them like it didn't matter. And I was one of those people that didn't resonate with me.
Yeah, no, it's completely understandable. We look at, like I said, how do you follow just the gold that we just had? Nothing's going to resonate with anybody. It's like, all right, like let's see where we're going with the good shit, guys. Come on.
So they throw McMahon in the ambulance, and he's screaming all the way. Patterson and Briscoe go in the back with him. Mankind is still with the big gulp right over there, watching them all going down. And great end to that segment. And we'll put a bookmark in the Vince stuff for the night. And Michael Cole's in the back with Ken Shamrock. And of course, if you know early UFC history, so there was a fight in Detroit called Dance in Detroit, where Ken Shamrock lost the UFC Super Fight Championship to Dan Severn by split decision. Shamrock mentions this in the promo. It says he doesn't have a lot of love for the Motor City. And as for tonight, he's got beef with everybody in the handicap match, so he's ready to get it on. So kind of cool that they mentioned the UFC history and they paid homage to it. But if I had to go through my own research and figure out what he was talking about with this not love for the Motor City. I thought he just didn't like being there.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that would go over your head as a fan, being 10 years old. You're just like, oh, Ken Shamrock fucking really, really hates the Red Wings. Like, I don't know what his problem is.
he hates Pistons. He hates the Lions. I hate Tim Allen. I hate the Home Improvement.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. All right. So we have the next match here. The Oddities, Golga and Kurgan taking on the Headbangers, and the Oddities, everyone's there. Giant Silva, Luna, Shaggy Tudo, Violent J. We're in ICP's backyard. Detroit is the home for, correct me if I'm wrong, of ICP. The Headbangers. So. I believe it is. I mean, I always thought ICP and Detroit were connected, but the match goes quick. 3 count for the Oddities getting the win. ICP trips Thrasher up for a splash by Kurgan. Kurgan goes on top of him. 1 minute and 58 seconds. Headbangers are heel. You ask yourself why at this point. It doesn't really matter. Match was just there. Again, you said, comparing it with the main stuff on top of the card, it's like, dude, what are we doing?
This is like early 94 Nitro shit. Like, nobody cares.
So we go to the next match here. Val Venus is in the back with Terry Reynolds, and they're doing obviously innuendo in the back, and they're doing a little build up. She's getting him ready for the match, if you know what I mean. And this next match is for the European Championship. It's X-Pac versus Val Venus, and we talked about the connection and the chemistry between X-Pac and D'Lo Brown, but Val Venus also has a great connection. We saw that match at SummerSlam with D'Lo Brown, but Val Venus in this little mix of guys is a good stuff. And we have a pretty good match here. It ends in a DQ, unfortunately, because we got the addition of China and getting involved at the end. Refs and agents come out to get X-Pac and China off Val Venus. A lot of stuff in this match aside from the finish. 3 minutes and 14 seconds flies by. I love the connection they have in the ring. Spinning heel kicks and splashes and Bronco Busters. Shenanigans on the outside with Terry Reynolds. But we also get Goldust's voice playing over the arena telling Val Venus that he was coming back, and Goldust falls from the ceiling. And we're going to get the return of Goldust too. So a lot happening in this 3 minutes and 14 seconds, and they made the most of the time. Yeah,
no, absolutely. Good story advancement, and good to see Goldust still trying to, like, it's not completely washed. We're still getting some oomph out of Dustin Rhodes, and I'm all here for some Dustin Rhodes, baby.
Yeah, seeing the Shattered Dreams production on the Titantron it popped me. I was glad to see it because, like we said, seeing the Dustin Reynolds stuff, it's like, dude, can we just go back to Goldust? It worked. What are we doing?
Yeah. No, listen, it was cool though. It was a good pop. Like, I loved it.
For sure.
Like, you gotta really appreciate it when it happens. It was a swerve of a pop.
So
for me.
Val Venus is in. Agreed. Val Venus is in line to get a European title shot in the future. So getting the win by DQ, that's the momentum that you need. And they utilize DQ so much in no contest. It's a lot, but we got to follow the path to see Val Venus get the shot.
Yeah.
So we go to the main event here, and Ken Shamrock, Mankind, and The Rock are taking on Kane and The Undertaker in a 3-on-2 handicap match. Lead us through, Belcaster. Talk about the main event. all the stuff that goes on before, after, and this is a coming out party for The Rock. We talk about different moments in time that make The Rock feel important. This is one of them here.
Yeah, no, this is crazy. Good in-ring shit again by all. I mean, we got 5 fucking champions in here. Everybody's doing their usual runarounds, kicking ass. Good to see Foley's. I could watch Mankind wrestle Taker. Any person in this ring. I watch all of them. Put them up in fucking main event. They'd kill it. But awesome stuff. I mean, you got some desperation moves from Mankind, hitting double arm DDTs. The Rock is just hot as fuck though. The whole time, man. So good. Yeah, Rock hits the rock bottom, gets the cover. Huge moment for the Rock, man. 12 minutes, 51 seconds. Again, hard to top the night we just seen here. So, I mean, I think this still fell a little flat compared to what it could have been on any other Raw. But I loved it, man. It was great. And everybody looked strong. Good back and forth. There's fun shit, man.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, it's the biggest win of Rock's career to date. I mean, he's had some big wins in this year, but we're about to approach. Let's get the fire lit under him as we approach Survivor Series 1998. He's going to be in that tournament. He eventually will win. Everyone will think it's going to be as a babyface, but he's going to be joined forces with Vince McMahon.
Yes.
But he's now pinned Taker. He's been Kane on 2 separate occasions. He's clearly, at this point, the #1 contender to the WWF Championship. And Kane and Taker are not getting along like they used to at this point. So some dissension there. We'll see what happens at Judgment Day 1998. It seems like we're going to get Taker versus Kane for the title with Austin in his corner. We'll see what happens there. I honestly completely forget. I can't wait to see exactly what happens where they put the title. All I know is the title is vacated for Survivor Series, which is why they have the one-night tournament. And I wonder if they hold the title vacant from this moment in September until November. That's a long period of time to have no champion.
Yeah, no, crazy stuff, but riveting. I am fucking glued to my TV all over again like it was just as a little kid in 1998. This was fan-fucking-tastic.
All right, well, let's get to the chaser and have the hard, unenviable task of picking our favorite moment from these 3 episodes, 2 Raws, and of course, WWF Breakdown. Let's get to the chaser.
The chaser.
Whew.
All right, Mike Belcaster. Every week we'll pick our favorite part of these 3 shows that we reviewed. Let's start with you. What was your favorite match or favorite segment or favorite whatever from these 3 action-packed shows?
There is literally so much to choose from every time we do this. Like it gets harder and harder, from Foley offering Vince the big gulp to William Regal shaving with the fucking straight razor.
Hello,
ladies. As much as I do want to pick the Zamboni, because obviously that is the moment, right? I'm giving it to the fucking cage match.
Dude,
it took me by such surprise. I forgot, like you said, I forgot it existed. And I knew we were getting into the Zamboni thing, obviously, but like, yeah, man, I don't know how you could top the athleticism of that, the sheer showing of balls between all 3 guys. Like the cage was so stiff, so unforgiving. And Mick Foley's a goddamn lunatic. I love him so much. It was such a good match.
Love it. And I'm going to go with the Zamboni, but I feel like I wanted to go with the cage as well, but for significance and just for what it did for wrestling, I'm going to go with the lasting moment in my head. And the way I thought about it was I didn't remember the cage match. I did watch WWF Breakdown, I think, during that time. And I remember that Zamboni moment like yesterday. I was recreating that in my fig feds growing up, finding things that look like a Zamboni, finding something to put to the side of my big giant monster ring where Austin was hitting that clothesline on Vince with all the security around him. Awesome moment. And it ages so well, like a fine wine. And there's nothing like the first time when you watch it because they try so hard to create these moments. When you watch WWE, and AEW is doing it now too, and they're making their own memories. And who knows, like maybe we're going to look back at the Mimosa Mayhem match as being like, wow, that was crazy as far as for someone that's going to be their nostalgia. And the same thing with the musical act with Jericho and MJF, maybe that, or even when MJF was singing all the stuff at UBS recently where he was doing that some people are going to remember that when nostalgia being like, that was what I remember as a kid. For me, this moment with Stone Cold, it's the perfect mix of nostalgia, but also effectiveness of it still ages well. I think they try so hard to make that moment again. And it's hard to create organic moments like this was, where I think they tried to do it a couple times with different times where they did different vehicles. We mentioned the beer bath with the milk stuff with Kurt Angle, but the milk doesn't really resonate as much as the beer did. And other times where you have someone go to the ring and use a big, not a Zamboni, but a different car or a different truck, it does not feel the same. And like, there's something very organic about the first time we've seen something like this. And it's the best. The original is always, to me, the best.
100%. And I think the closest they have gotten to that in the last 20 something years, 20 plus years, is the Brock Lesnar thing. I mean, even the Kurt Angle thing, it felt reused because it was, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But an iconic moment. That's why I mean, I could have easily picked it, but I had to give Foley and Shamrock and The Rock mad props, man. But the Zamboni will live on forever. That cage match hopefully will now, because we just brought that shit back, sir.
We brought it back. Love it. So let's get into closing the tab. The lights are coming on the bar. We're going to get prepared for next week and your weekend here at the Turnbuckle Tavern. We still got content for you guys coming up. You don't want to miss it as we approach, I mean, All In, All Out, Forbidden Door, this big announcement that we have that, we're obviously taping on Tuesday. We have that big announcement for Warner Brothers Discovery with the new TV deal. We got CM Punk, we got AEW Collision. We got so much to break down in the current day, but we're still rocking that shot of nostalgia in the past. So let's close the tab.
Closing the tab.
Oh yeah, brother.
All right, for our final wrap-up, next week's show will, believe it or not, be episode 17 of Season 3, airing on May 26, 2023. The October 5th Raw, the October 12th Raw, and we're going to get Judgment Day 1998. So we're finally on another pay-per-view. It feels like we're cycling through them. And, dude, we're approaching big moments again, the end of the year. We're getting ready for our next season. Following next week's episode, I'm going to be, if all goes well, I'm supposed to be interviewing Joey Conway this weekend. So he'll be airing another Visits to Tavern. He'll be popping on with me, talking about all things wrestling, possibly about the Attitude Era. I know he grew up watching some of this stuff and talking about what's been going on. He traveled to Puerto Rico recently. He also wrestled Little Guido this past weekend, and then, doing good stuff. Can't wait to catch up with Joey Conway. The cause of it all, as above, so below. So make sure you guys check that out. Follow him on Instagram. But Mike Belcaster, you guys had a great Fig Night episode. You guys had a lot of good stuff going on.
Yeah.
Tell us about what's going on the Mike Belcaster front.
Yeah, man. I mean, obviously, you guys are coming off of that huge wrap-up we just did, talking about all the crazy shit that happened with Tony Khan this week and his special announcement about a special announcement about the special announcement. Super awesome. But yeah, we're killing it over at Fig Night. If anybody's traveling out to Double or Nothing next week, come find me. As always, you just holler at your boy. I will have some stickers. I found a nice stack of Turnbuckle Tavern stickers left over from our last little trip of shenanigans. So I'll be in Vegas in full starting Wednesday all the way until Monday. It's going to be a good time. But yeah, man, Fig Night next week should be good. Me and Tom just announced our new shirt. So we are the Fig Guys. It's like the Roddy Piper font, and we both look like action figures. And I know Tom's not watching this, but mine came out way better and he paid for it. So I won. No, but it's so good. Extra Cooler did the gimmick. So super badass. Love it. But yeah, man, stay tuned. We got a lot of shit going on. You never know what's going to happen in Vegas. You never know when I'm going to be live. You never know when I'm going to be jiving and thriving, man. So keep an eye out for that shit.
I love it. And you guys can support us by going to theturnbuckletavern.com. Follow us on all these platforms, most notably Instagram. Make sure you guys follow at Turnbuckle Tavern. I think we're at like 7,600 followers over. Make sure you guys can subscribe over on YouTube, anywhere you can find us, and wherever you can find us, wherever you're listening to us, whatever audio platform you're on, whether it be Apple, Spotify, or otherwise, please make sure you leave a review and tell your friends about us. That's how the word is spread, wrestling fans, and telling other people about how you enjoy the show. Leave some feedback for us. We want to hear from you. You can follow me at ACEFIELD Retro on Instagram. You can also follow Mike Belcaster at Mike Belcaster. Make sure you guys check us out. And interact with us. We love that. We love hearing feedback. There's been a lot of good feedback this in. We also want to know what you guys think, what we should do for future seasons. I've heard feedback. People want us to return back to the land of Ted Turner. Some people want to talk about Impact. Some people want us to go to the AEW pandemic year in 2020, which if we get that HBO Max streaming deal where we get the full compilation of that library living somewhere, there's no reason we can't do an AEW 2020 season. I think that would be a lot of fun. And we're at this point, we're about 4 years removed from it. Why not? I think that'd be a lot of fun to go through the newsletter and talk about what they were doing.
I would be all for it. And especially just how monumentous it was for all of us. AEW did it right. I think they came out. If you're going to do the Pandemic Wars as a series, I think AEW won, because those pandemic episodes of Dynamite were fucking awesome, and they helped us all out through a really tough time. So be down as hell for that, man. But I'm always down for whatever we choose, because wrestling's fun and we love it, and we're fucking weird like that. And so are you guys, because you're watching the show. So Andre's pointing at you. He knows.
So again, guys, stay tuned for some more announcements for season 5. As you know, season 4 will be Smoky Mountain Wrestling 1994, 7 episodes. We're going to do some fun things on there. It may look a little different. We're going to be covering 2 months of content. So going through the matches might look a little different. The length may be different, but I know it's going to be a lot of fun, and you're not going to want to miss it. I think it should be a lot of interesting to hear some of the names that are popping up over on Smoky Mountain Wrestling, some of the names that you are very familiar with, some guys we're seeing during this season of 1998, guys that we've seen in ECW 1995, very important faces in the history of wrestling. And for the short time that Smoky Mountain existed, it was pivotal for the wrestling business. And like it or not, whether you guys are a fan of Jim Cornette or not, I am a fan of Jim Cornette for his wrestling persona and his mindset in wrestling. So I'm curious to see how it ages. And nostalgia, it's the perfect way to look at it, because nostalgia sometimes blinds people with how great things were. We're going to see for the first time, there's a lot of this content we'll be consuming for the first time, different than this, because we're reliving it. This is like, we're going to be reliving it for the first time, similar to how WCW was for me watching those Nitros.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy, but I'm really looking forward to it, because like you said, some of the names coming through there, I mean, some of the stuff you've sent me on YouTube already has been fantastic. So I can't wait to go through it more and in depth. Make it happen, brother.
Well, we appreciate you guys watching. As always, make sure you guys always support Tavern. And like we said, follow us on Instagram for other updates. We'll be posting. Hopefully we'll get a Smoky Mountain Wrestling shirt for Shot Nostalgia. If you guys want to pick up this shirt, it's on Pro Wrestling Tees, like I mentioned before. You can pick up that purple shirt as well. To me, it's my favorite shirt that I own. What's better than a purple shirt? Maybe get a baby blue Shot Nostalgia Smoky Mountain Wrestling shirt. So stay tuned for merch like that. We got to talk to our merch guy, one of the co-founders of the tavern. But
one of the
headers lead us out, brother.
Trunk. Yeah, guys, thank you for tuning in. And as Vince Russo says, you just keep watching, bro, because it's going to be the best. You're going to have the greatest time. He's kind of turning into Trump now.
You want raw? I'll get downright nasty.
There we go. He did it best. Thank you, Vince. Thank you, Ace, and fucking thank you guys for tuning in. It was a blast, man. We'll catch you next week.